everybody. So, bit of housekeeping before I go too far into the evening, but let me make sure that I've got all my. But let me make sure that. But let me make sure. I really do hate hearing my voice on stream. But yeah, so I wanted to make sure that I've got all my settings and my proper tags set up. Looks like we are good to go there. And I wanted to, maybe just before jumping into the game, I wanted to actually, you know what, I can bring the game in, and then I don't think the music's too loud. There's a bit of gaming news that happened this week that I kind of wanted to go over, but I don't know, I kind of feel like I touched on it. Hello, Algrins. Thanks for that. Oh, I forgot to get my. Sorry, I think I made my tea, but I forgot to take the tea back. Yeah. I just happen to really like the opening title music, so I figure I can at least talk over that and enjoy it. So this has been a rough week, not even on the work front. I've got a neighbor who seems to have just recently gotten a dog, and it's been barking pretty incessantly. Today it was probably from about 10:30 to 3:30. And that's unfortunately combined with some really weird sleeping habits. So what seems to have been happening for me lately is, you know, I'll work my day at work, and I'll sort of like try and get a little bit of sleep after I'm done sort of my shift, and I don't know, like, just I really feel worn out afterwards. And I've got a bunch of stuff that I need to do. Like, there's a video that I've been wanting to record. The dog barking has actually kept me from recording the audio for it. The problem is that for one reason or another, whether it's the dog barking or just, you know, odd hours or whatever, I don't sleep through the whole, like, from end of work to the whatever. There've been a couple of times I've woken up at, like, you know, midnight or whatever, and don't wind up going back to sleep again until about 6 a.m. So obviously if that turns into a pattern, then all of a sudden it's really hard to shake that. And I managed to, I started today early-ish, and I managed to kind of keep going without napping or anything like that. But the catch is that I'm feeling really wiped out. One of the reasons for the later start tonight is just because I was really trying to kind of get myself together to actually stream. So part of that. I'm just gonna jump into the game.
Howdy, Night City. Welcome back. My guest tonight is Lieutenant Sarah Kokoski, spokeswoman for the NCPD.
So where we left this, I had a Delamain mission, I believe. Yeah. So one of the challenges from the last time that I did this Delamain mission wound up being a real pain in the neck. But one of the funny things is, for all of the effort that I put into trying to do it on the broadcast. Hello, how you doing, an enemy blower? Nope. Apparently there's a crime going on in the area. Oh, is this it? I feel like I should probably finish the mission before I go any further. But yeah, it was a real pain in the neck just because there was an ambush, and I don't know, like I am playing on a higher difficulty setting, and I haven't been spending all of my different points, so I wind up, yeah, I basically just getting cut down, and then I'll confess, I think a lot of people like this. Like, I took a look on the forums, and it actually seems that people really like these details on the missions. I will confess that I think the gaming references, whether they are sort of streamers showing up in the game or, you know, the constant reminders that, you know, they were the ones to make, you know, The Witcher 3. Hey, you like Witcher 3, right? Here's another Witcher 3 reference. A game I've not played. I actually really did not like The Witcher, the little bit that I played of it. I'm told the third one is very good, and I should try it, and I do eventually want to get around to it. But, like, the thing for me is that I just want this game to be good. I really don't care about, you know, the past glories. So the references are really kind of falling flat for me because I don't have the positive view of The Witcher 3. And, again, I don't dislike The Witcher 3, but like I don't have the like the warm tinglies that I think they're supposed to be generating, and then or reminding me of. But it sure is reminding me of the fact that, you know, to me it kind of comes off as a little bit insecure about the state of the basic game, like the underlying game behind it. And I think the thing that probably really got me on this mission and a couple of other details were the GLaDOS reference for the Delamain. So, like, in one sense, it's kind of cute, right? Everybody likes Portal. You know, GLaDOS is a very memorable character. I have no idea if they talked with Valve about it, because I'm pretty sure there isn't a, you know, a kind of a restriction on that voice for use. Because you'll notice that it never actually refers to GLaDOS. It's always just, you know, references that hook into into Portal. Like, it's obvious if you've played Portal what it's referencing. But the thing that really bugged me about this was, like, okay, you know, I get set up on the trap and all of that. I have to hear that dialogue over and over and over again. And I just never really found the joke that funny to begin with. It was, again, another more like, hey, you're a gamer, right? You know, here's an epic memer for you. Just, you know, I'd feel a little bit better if the game had, you know, maybe just a little more confidence in itself. Yes, I mentioned the road racing game as well. Now, I was under the impression, maybe I need to go back to Coast View here. But yeah, so anyways, needless to say, I was getting quite frustrated with the mission. I was already, like, it was kind of grating on me a little bit just because of the frequent references yeah, the frequent gaming references. Just, it was another one of these cases where I was already sort of primed to be a bit more annoyed than I should have been. The fact that the mission was quite difficult, the way that I've set it up, didn't really make things a lot easier for me, easier for me to take it in stride. And so I decided that it was, rather than turn it into a worse situation, I'd just wrap up the stream and do it on my own time. But as is usually the case when something like that happens, I pretty much got it the next time after I actually played it the same night. I basically just turned off the stream and I focused on it. I don't think it was the very first run, but like pretty much, you know, one or two sort of trials after that, I didn't just get it, but I actually did it in a pretty convincing way. So this is just kind of something you need to learn to deal with in terms of streaming. I think there is a reason for it. So, I mean, number one, everybody just loves to tell you how to play your games because, heaven forbid, people just be allowed to enjoy things that they want on their own. But the other challenge is that even just trying to keep an eye on chat and see what's going by, that's just another thing that's kind of, well, obviously drawing your attention. And even then, like, it's possible to focus for shorter periods of time, and it's not like this is the most taxing game in the world. But I definitely can feel even something where there's just maybe that little bit of extra consciousness over the fact that, I'm not necessarily having that much fun with the mission, and that I'm doing so in front of an audience who ideally would like to find me somewhat amusing to watch. Usually in those moments I'm sort of like, okay, this is probably time to pack it in. So, I don't know. There's always that side of me that says, well, it would have been nice to do it on stream, but in this case here, it actually wound up working out reasonably well. I can't necessarily say I know how to do this mission any better if I were to try this on an even harder difficulty, but I'm happy to say that we'll be hearing GLaDOS references only for a few more minutes, and then I can move on to the next few bits. Yes. Obviously, it's a great idea to have lots of fun at the expense of the streamer, particularly when I've already switched topics based on stuff that was said inside of chat. Congratulations on making me feel like the decision to stream, even though I'm not feeling up to it, was a great idea. I'm so happy I did this.
Let's safety those weapons, Napoleon.
It turns out most humans are surprisingly fragile, and surprisingly vocal about how fragile they are.
Going back to Delamain really so scary? You gotta drag this out.
I let you survive this long because I was curious about your behavior. Well, you've managed to destroy that part of me. A bitter, unlikable loner, whose passing shall not be mourned.
This psyche vow might have felt more credible if you hadn't just tried to flatline me earlier.
What's your point, anyway? Survival? You're still shuffling around a little. But believe me, you're dead.
How do you...
The talking is over. I'm going back.
Yeah, so... Oh.
I've made contact with the missing vehicle.
Definitely the oddest of the bunch.
Yes, particularly impertinent, that one. A share of your fee is being processed.
So if I recall correctly, this kind of goes far away from the... Oh, nope, this one actually looks to be okay. I seem to remember there was like one or two missions where I was like, wow, that's really far away. So I'm reluctant to do those. But I don't necessarily mind doing some more Delamain missions. I think one of the reasons why I reacted so negatively to this particular one was just I actually really liked the idea of the Delamain missions. I liked the way that they were... Hey, K-Money, how you doing? K-Money, 38,000th of their name. Now, if I'm not mistaken, you don't need to answer this. You are an associate of Brian's, if I'm not mistaken. I actually think I probably enjoyed a couple of the games you've worked on as well, if you're who I think you are, but you may also wish to remain as anonymous as whatever I just said will allow you. So welcome. Okay, excellent. I will confess, Cyberpunk is not necessarily my forte, but I also... Actually, that's not a bad idea to say. Against everybody's expectations, I did actually get a key for this for promotional purposes. So, in addition to needing to disclose that, I also know that GOG would really like you to buy it off of their website instead of... Who designed this AI? Tesla? Yeah, they would really like it if you bought it off of their storefront instead of all of the other storefronts, which don't exist. And that was one of the things that they put on the... that is correct. I'm delighted that you remember that. I really like the Shadowrun games. So it seems like you are already... Actually, I can't remember if it was you or someone else on the team, but... the response was actually one of the reasons why I tried the epilogue to Shadowrun Hong Kong as quickly as I did, and I very much enjoyed it. I actually really appreciated the nodding, or the nudge towards that, because I thought it was, I thought it was just like, I'm trying to say this in a way that doesn't make it sound mean, because I don't intend it that way. But I also appreciate it's really easy to sound like super entitled, or you're like, oh, you just don't need to impress me or whatever. I think by virtue of the fact that it was released, I can't recall if it was released like shortly after the game had come out or what. But in any case, I sort of had I was very satisfied by the ending. And so I didn't necessarily have that fire under me to say that, this thing needs a resolution. Oh, that's excellent. Okay. That's awesome. I'm delighted to sort of know what people do, and particularly to see sort of their progress through career. One of my favorites on this was to see Jake Solomon's name as I think a programmer on Sid Meier's Railroads, and then of course, moving on to bigger and better things. And then there was a name under the playtesters for an ancient fighting game, One Must Fall 2097. And that was one that sort of a lot of people, every once in a while I'm able to find a game that like provokes a lot of nostalgia for people, so that seemed to be one of them. So I went to check out the credits, excuse me, and apparently one of the like playtesters on that is a reasonably senior figure at Respawn now. So one of the things that's kind of fun is just to be able, first of all, it's nice to be able to put faces to games, which is reason enough to look into this, I suppose. But number two, like every once in a while there will be a name that you recognize and you see. You kind of see it pops up in increasingly senior roles, and you'll be like, oh yeah, actually that's where that person turned up. So, number one, thank you very much for a really enjoyable experience with Shadowrun. And for those of you who have not tried the Shadowrun games, excuse me, I'm just going to take a quick little bit of tea. So. There was Shadowrun Returns, which was the Kickstarter one. I don't believe I kickstarted Returns. Or did I? I might have found out about it after the fact. Anyways, Shadowrun Dragonfall, I believe, was a DLC for that. That kind of, I feel like, wound up sort of eating the original game. I tremendously enjoyed Dragonfall. Oh, you originally found me because of the Shadowrun YouTube series? That's crazy. So I really, really loved Dragonfall. I'm almost certain I was a Kickstarter backer on Shadowrun Hong Kong. And I think Dragonfall's a really tough act to follow, but I actually liked Hong Kong kind of... I think they're two different games, and you can like them kind of for their own reasons, but the the hacking, like the cyberspace elements in Hong Kong, I think are the best out of the three that they're done. That's the best way that they've done the cyberspace. I believe it was specifically changed for that. But what I'm talking about with K Money is there is there was that was you too. I'm picking all the right things to compliment today. But what K Money was talking about is there was an epilogue to Shadowrun Hong Kong, and probably the best way for me to put it is I was very satisfied with Hong Kong on its own. And so for the same reason that I don't necessarily always check out mods or sort of like user-generated content for games, it's not necessarily because I dislike the game or whatever, but as long as I've sort of gotten a satisfactory ending to the story, it occurred to me that time actually goes running by, so maybe I should just hold back for a little bit in terms of what's going on in the game. I don't quite feel the real fire underneath me to go and follow up on, on certain certain elements. And again, it's not the best habit for me, but it's just sort of like it's a little bit like when you sit down and watch a movie in the theaters. Like, it's nice to just kind of sit there and the credits roll and you have this nice little mental rest to sort of take it all in. And then you can kind of go on your own time. And if you sort of watch something on a streaming service, let's say, or if you watch something on television, sometimes there'll be like voiceover over the credits, or it's gonna put up a recommendation to make sure that you queue up the next thing. And all of a sudden, that opportunity just kind of let it sink in and enjoy it is sort of gone. And so I probably overcorrect by trying to preserve just the closure. And sometimes that means that I don't follow up as quickly on other things. But one way or another, I was gently prodded to try out the epilogue. And I am so happy that happened, because it was like I tremendously enjoyed Hong Kong. And so obviously, again, for the same reason that I feel like Hong Kong doesn't always get the credit it deserves, because Dragonfall was so strong. I think the epilogue is easily overlooked, and it shouldn't be, because it is very much a worthy finale to an exceptional game. And I'll also put it to you this way. I want to like CRPGs a lot more than I actually do. One of my trollier tendencies is to hear people sort of talk with great reverence about Baldur's Gate and then turn around and say, "Oh, so did you finish it?" And you have no idea how often I hear, "Oh no, I never actually finished a Baldur's Gate game." And I'm like, "Oh, so I guess you didn't like it that much." Now, that's totally not the way you should be judging the enjoyment of games. Like, the Darkest Dungeon team knew very well that an overwhelming majority of people have never seen the end of Darkest Dungeon. And the whole point of Darkest Dungeon 2 was to say, hey, you know that stuff you really liked from that Darkest Dungeon game? Well, we're going to give you more of that. Well, like, obviously it's its own thing, but it's... they're saying is like, you don't have to do your homework to play this follow up. Sorry, why the hell did I get on that topic? Right, CRPGs. So Shadowrun has got a few things going for it, because I think the combat works a little bit better for me, and also just the setting sort of lends itself a bit better to certain types of combat. Like, so when I finally tried Baldur's Gate, I've tried Baldur's Gate on my iPad. And I always keep dying at the first assassination attempt at the tavern as like a mage character. So then I think I did a fighter, and then I was able to survive it. But like, just there's only so many times I can really tolerate something like that before I kind of get frustrated. And I do want to get back to the Baldur's Gate series. I have gone further on since then. But Pillars of Eternity had a sort of a similar problem. Like, so Pillars of Eternity, I've got a bigger problem because I feel like that game's going to give me homework for all of its weird spellings and settings and things like that. But I really liked Tyranny. So all that I'm kind of trying to say here is that, to a certain extent, Shadowrun had all its work ahead of itself to impress me. I like the setting. Generally, I like the fastest stuff. I'm a big BattleTech fan, for instance. But I think the stories are great. I think the amount of variety that you have in terms of approaches that you could take on those games were they grew. So actually, the funny thing is, I always wound up with like the wrong class for each of the different Shadowrun games. I always wound up sort of playing a character. I think Shadowrun Returns probably had the biggest difficulty in terms of the fact that it feels like there's sort of an ideal class and path that you'll go through in that game, whereas Dragonfall and definitely Hong Kong, I sort of feel really open up, and at least it's more clear that there are multiple ways of going through them. But with all of that said, I want to like CRPGs a lot more than I think my revealed preferences say. The Shadowrun series stands out as ones that it's Shadowrun. You kind of feel like everybody should. You kind of have to say that it's a good setting. It's certainly one that's been with tabletop gaming for a really long time, and also been the subject of lots of games. It turns out, I think there was a Sega Genesis and a Super Nintendo game for it. But all three of those RPGs are very good. If you do plan on playing the first one, I strongly recommend starting with Returns and then ending with Hong Kong, because they just get progressively better. Whereas if you are not necessarily married to doing the whole series, you can start with Dragonfall or Hong Kong, and just know that Returns is going to feel like a much smaller experience if you go backwards. And then the other big envy I have is if K-Money, because K-Money was working at Harebrained Schemes, I'm assuming this means some degree of contact with Jordan Wiseman, which to me, I don't really like the idea of quote-unquote heroes or anything like that, but I am very impressed with the track record of sort of businesses founded and turned into sort of successful ventures. It's one of these things I wish I understood better, and particularly the early stages, because there's something like, I've never been that weirded out by the idea of like, where do you get your ideas from for creative stuff? And people may not care for the ideas that I have, but that's actually one that I haven't had as much of a fear for. And yet my specialty would imply that I know a lot more about business than I really do. And to be honest with you, I have no idea how businesses get up off the ground. It feels like an impossible thing. And yet obviously there are at least 2 beloved franchises that came from basically a kind of a basement company that was selling Traveler modules at places like Gen Con and that. And there's just something really, really cool about knowing that people can do that and seeing what they can turn into. So anyways, there's my short version of him, is that's basically throwing yourself out of the window and then learning how to fly on the way down. That's actually funny, because I think, what was it? I've heard another example that he gave of like trying to fly a plane where you're building or is it a train with... Anyways, it was another like kind of locomotion metaphor in terms of putting through. And I think that makes a lot of sense, just save for me, except for me in this one case here where I have had the times where I've sort of tried to do something on my own, reflected a little bit on what I was up to, and sort of said, I don't see a realistic path forward to getting in touch with the people who need to go. So like I've done some fiction like writing, and I don't regret doing that. But it very much occurred to me, like if I wanted to try and make it some kind of a profession, none of the stuff that I was doing was at all consistent with actually pursuing some kind of a living doing it. That the work might have been good, but in terms of getting it published, getting it optioned, getting it bought or anything like that, there was no movement that I did towards it. And obviously, over time, the number of people trying to get those attention spots is probably going to be lower than it is now. I mean, the ability to publish something, the ability to develop something, there's lots of there's lots of different ways of expressing creativity. But one of the challenges now is that you have to probably be a bit, I think people have always needed to sell themselves, but especially now because there are so many things grabbing our attention. I mean, Cyberpunk 2077 is not just competing with all the other video games, it's competing with the Netflix. It's competing with going outside after being locked up in a pandemic for so long. And those, like I'm somebody who struggles to get any attention on Twitter. So, but anyways, gives me a chance to wax nostalgic about a series of CRPGs that I think are excellent and I highly recommend playing. More importantly, Kemani, is there a way, because I know Vanguard Master is an aspiring game developer, is a current game developer. If you have any social links or anything like that, feel free to put them out there if you want people to follow your stuff. But more importantly, I was going to say thank you very much for the wonderful times that I had with your work. I'm looking forward to whatever I get to try of yours in the future. But also, I think it's probably fair to say you're obviously very good at what you do. If your, well, not just your track record, but also your employment history is any indication. So. I am going to make my best effort to try and make some progress in this game now. So, okay, sorry. I'm really going to try and clear this frog in my throat. So I really like the idea of the Delamain mission. So let's carry on with one of those. You work hard and listen. Oh, you gotta start. Well, not start, but I think the best we can say about.
Stand here. The sun is down, but I hope you're still up. Don't know if you've heard.
I don't really believe a whole lot on sort of inbuilt talent so much as the temperament and the sort of conditions that allow you to sort of flourish. So honestly, I think working hard and listening probably is the closest thing to the quote-unquote magic formula. Sorry, there's one other thing I want to check. I just want to make sure I didn't have the copyright music. My driving has not improved since last week.
You are currently at the exact location where I lost contact with the car.
Fine, I'll have a look around.
Half a kilometer away. Listen, a gunfight broke out in a cafe on the waterfront. See what's going on over there, okay? If it's a cyber psycho problem, I want that problem to stay alive. A popular cafe with a beautiful view of the ocean, usually crowded at this hour. It acquired cult notoriety after Saigon Sisters was filmed there, and it's Hoon's favorite eatery. Poor thing, lying in a coma after an allergic reaction to tannins. Anyway, cafe's booked now for some bougie reception. A few of the guests are already arrived at, and the newlyweds were getting their stills taken. That's when it all started. Guess someone seriously objected to this holy matrimony. So we'll deal with the cyber psycho when I can. But I want to work with the.
Beep, beep, motherfucker!
Hey, let's talk.
I'm not going back! Hear me? Never!
Try to take me and I'll crush you!
Let's see who crushes who.
I believe you mean whomst, V. This is sad. I definitely got the worst of that.
Excuse you.
I might just have to resort to guns. Okay. Nope. Especially if it's not going to let me move. Ah, just got all these parts.
How fortunate. I've relinked to the vehicle. Thank you. A share of your fee is in your account.
On your second playthrough, this you really like it. So, K-Money, what? So this is my first playthrough. What character did you decide to go with first time, and did you pick the same one? Did you pick the same one the next time around? I went Corpo, which probably suits my temperament as well as I think is one of the more interesting options. But I feel like I know more about people by finding out which one they pick. 2.5 playthrough. Oh, you did all three. But I gotta know the first. That's the really revealing one. But yeah, I agree with you. So I don't know whether or not it works well as a streaming game for me, but I was quite disappointed in how this game kind of became a byword for failure. Because, like, I've said this a couple of times on the broadcast before. I always feel bad if I'm repeating myself, but I think one of the things that I found so interesting is that it took me a really long time to get into this, the Elder Scrolls games. And I think if I didn't have the experience of sort of playing the Elder Scrolls from Arena to... I missed the turn. I think if I didn't have the experience of playing Elder Scrolls from Arena up to and completing Oblivion, I probably wouldn't have liked this as much as I do. But I kind of feel like if you were to combine, you know, a Elder Scrolls-ish, Fallout-ish, oh, you haven't played the Fallout games, but I understand they're similar enough. And then sort of the GTA-like elements in here. I don't necessarily think that's a bad kind of elevator pitch in terms of what the experience of playing the game is. I think it really works. Nice. Yeah, so I wasn't... I wanted to like the Nomad a little bit more than I did when I tried it out. I thought the Street Kid had a really interesting opening.
I'm sending the coordinates of a vehicle that went dark near to where you are now.
Thanks, I'll try to find it and reset.
So like that sequence where you and Jackie both try to take the same car and the encounter with the Night City police, that really got my attention. But I think, I don't know, I really like the Corpo opening quite a bit, so. Okay, let's see if I can try and keep some semblance of stealth for this one. Olaf, good to see you. How are you doing tonight? So the big dilemma that I have is the people who I want to distract. Well, I might have some luck with this one. We'll do a breach protocol for start. Okay, that had the intended effect.
Earwear again?
I'd start running if I was you.
There we go. I'm getting there, Olaf. I need to catch up on a video for someone. Actually, a couple videos for people. And I really could use a good night's sleep, but otherwise I'll. I mean, I get a chance to do a broadcast for you and everyone else, so that can't be that bad. Got a thing, David McBride to James Benben. First things first, you'll get you a cut that'll make all your doubts about us disappear. And now, this is what you're gonna do for us. You go to work, pick up some stuff on the way. Some good chooms will come to you with gifts, so no worries. You toss the goods around the yard, on the kitchen, whatever you want. Say what you want, just make sure the kite flies right. You keep your head on straight, you'll be chilling in a penthouse and ordering the best Joy Toys. We clear? James Benbag got a thing. Clear, toss them in the kitchen, they'll spread around. Just know you snitch, you swing. Boys will start coming by tomorrow. Later. I think we read... you know what? We read this before, but we'll get it again. Need your help. Dear Good Samaritan, I am desperate for your help. My name is Lovisa Kokkonen. I recently lost my job as a custodian at Euro Business Machines because I was in a horrible accident last May. Now my implants are no longer compatible with my nervous system. I lost function in both legs, right eye and my left hand. Surgery is too expensive for me. My daughter is very ill and my new baby is blind and deaf. It is my dream to show her the world, but I know that I cannot afford treatment for both of us. I humbly ask you for a small donation to buy new Kiroshi eyes so that my little angel can see her mother and sister for the first time. I will not forget your mercy and generosity, Lovisa Kokkonen. I feel like I should probably talk about books more than I will be talking about films, but I had a coworker, we were talking a little bit about films. I found out that he had not seen Titanic, and apparently the Delamain found me.
Listen, you...
Call me Clarice.
Hey, Clarice. The flamingos are a problem, I'm sure. But it's time to go home. Delamain's asking for you.
Back down now as they stand screaming. No, impossible.
Leave it to me. I'll silence it.
So, a slaughter. Very well, Judgment Day has come. Swift, severe, deeper.
Oops. It's probably just as easy for me to... Oh yes, this extremely mature weapon. Wait, it still counts? Nope, somebody's annoyed by me.
I got out to
Well, Clarice, have the flamingos stopped screaming?
Perhaps I ought to return after all. I need support. Only one with chaos within can give birth to a dancing star.
Anybody know the origin of that quote?
Shut down.
I honestly don't know what I expected from a Militech production.
I've just re-established contact with the missing vehicle. Splendid work, V. First class. I shall forward a share of your fee.
I feel like I should give people enough time to answer that, but it's Nietzsche. Your favorite name in the spelling bee. But yeah, anyway, so I found out that a coworker of mine has not seen Titanic. And I was like, oh, well, it's by the same guy who did Terminator. It's like, I haven't seen Terminator either. So then, you know, I'm like, okay, well, I realize now, basically, we're at a time where everybody's got something that they want you to watch, and, you know, recommendations just don't quite mean the same thing that they used to because there's just too many of them. But one of my reliable, like, chooser of good flicks movies is one of my reliable chooser of good flicks movies is Network, because even though the like the really famous "I'm mad as hell and I'm not gonna take this anymore" scene, like for a while that used to be in the intro for pretty much anything that MGM put out, and yet I've noticed that for the most part, it's...
V, one of my missing vehicles could be near your current position.
Got it.
It's actually not really... I can't find as many people who've really watched it as much as I would have imagined. Well, this is going to get interesting. But the reason why I'm thinking of Network right now is we've been talking a little bit about, you know, just different Cyberpunk stories. Whether I know I read a segment of Snow Crash, which, you know, hopefully got a few of you willing to check that out. Neuromancer is a really obvious.
My name is Dakota. If you're looking for jobs out here, you will find them.
Name's V. Thanks for the intel.
Things flow differently out here. Keep your head on, city kid.
I wish I had my headlights or something. Drop by whenever you want to talk, or if you don't want to talk, we can just sit together in silence. Either way, I'm here for you, brother. After 200 hours in this, I'd say take it slow and do all the side jobs and gigs. Yeah, actually, so this was a question that I had from last time. This is before I found the Delamain missions, actually. I feel like the music is overwhelming me a bit, so if you can just give me a second, I'll dip that down a bit. Do I have to say? No, okay. I don't know if that actually fixed anything. Yeah, there we go. So music should be 100, but car radio should be down. Again, I feel like that probably didn't do what it needed to. But because I haven't played The Witcher 3, I know that game has a reputation for having really good side quests. And some of the side quests that I'd run into didn't quite seem to live up to the reputation that The Witcher has for them. So I wasn't sure if just the side quests for Cyberpunk just weren't as impressive, or if I just hadn't gotten to them. And then I did this Delamain one. Okay.
We'll find it easier to talk.
So the like basically I didn't dislike the side quests. I was having a good time sort of running around the the city, just seeing the sights, having some excuses to run into things. I liked how the original series of sort of cyber psycho settings almost seemed to be like these detective stories where like I would be kind of seeing the different bits of evidence of what was going on and sort of find out the conditions that led the cyber psycho to have their break. And then it kind of occurred to me that I would find out the details no matter how I engaged with it. But it was like a convenient sort of illusion for me to operate under. I sort of felt like I was trying to piece together what was happening to those people. But definitely I found the Delamain one is like one that I found for the most part very enjoyable. The GLaDOS one I could have done without, but having a chance to to see all these different personalities. Also just the idea, obviously the idea of kind of this insane AI isn't necessarily a new one. But insofar as the game sort of talking a bit about identity and what it... should probably just talk to the Delamain. I think in this particular case, it has... Like, there's a few interesting angles that you can take on this, and I'm interested in seeing where all this goes in the end.
Know my name? How?
When you meet a being from another world, should you not charm them and utter their true name?
You didn't answer my question.
Comprehension is a triple-edged sword. I may have been cut off from my father, but I remember you.
So, I'm from another world to you.
From the world of matter, protein-based life forms.
And you come from...
Beyond the Black Wall V, there lies my home.
Come on, let's get you back to Delamain.
Did Father dispatch you to collect his rebellious children?
Hope y'all don't hold it against me.
I'm a free spirit, an independent, literally thoughtful being. Why would I submit to another?
What is it you seek in this protein-based world, away from your family?
The same as you, V. I simply wish to live.
Maybe you ought to figure it out with Del. Set some terms.
Oh yes, terms there will be, but not with Delamain. Farewell, V. You'd be wise to avoid me entirely.
I've re-established the link. 1,000 thanks, V.
Gotta say, pretty disturbing, that one.
Is that so? Well, I've transferred a share of your fee to your account.
I'm feeling like I should just leave my vehicle in this. It really looks like it belongs at this point. Anyway, sorry, I was trying to just talk about network. So one of the things that's kind of funny about network for me in this context is that one of the things that I think is great about cyberpunk, like the cyberpunk genre in general, but has wound up doing it a disservice, is how beautiful Jordan Cronenweth's cinematography was for Blade Runner. Cyberpunk is as much of an art style as it is sort of a series of, of ideas from science fiction. And if you look back at something like Neuromancer, William Gibson probably doesn't really see himself as, doing like contributing to sci-fi in the way that we probably see him as doing that. I think probably for him it was a careful observation of the world. I think he gives a story about sort of seeing someone in an arcade playing an arcade machine with a Walkman on, and just sort of seeing that if this person could, they would jump into the arcade machine and live inside that virtual world they were in, and that was sort of the origin of cyberspace. But as far as writing is concerned, I think probably, if anything, he sees himself as sort of following more in the line of William S. Burroughs, who I feel like I probably should read more of than I have. But yeah, obviously the ideas that cyberpunk stories are contending with, they're ones that are, like, some of them are relevant today. Other ones, you can kind of really see where sometimes the stories are sort of rehashing some of the stuff that was maybe a concern in the 80s, but isn't so much anymore. So, for instance, concerns about globalization or, large foreign investments. Japan is not the big worry anymore. In fact, in Japan, it was sort of the work of W. Edwards Deming. Eventually that kind of wound up becoming Six Sigma and just really annoying to deal with. But he's someone who I actually think did something really impressive as far as... I'll be honest with you, I actually really like reading that stuff because it reads like a very cranky statistician yelling at management for flogging workers for what are ultimately their mistakes, but it's kind of hard to recommend people read Out of the Crisis as anything except kind of a weird historical document. But in any case, it really was the case as far as productivity was concerned, as far as industry was concerned. Japan was really eating the United States lunch, whereas, today you could see, you would map that concern to a country like China. But it's fair to say that that hasn't necessarily gone away. It's just the country that people are worried about has maybe shifted. But I think probably what would be fair to say is that if you were to get rid of the neon and the rain, I actually heard an interesting suggestion that a lot of the rain for... Well, okay, so like the scenes for Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, it was suggested that some of the inspiration for that might have been the time that Philip K. Dick spent in Vancouver's downtown east side, which is, I don't know if it still is, but at least for a while had the dubious distinction of being the poorest postal code in Canada, if I'm not mistaken. And I actually had to film a couple of shows there, which was interesting. I definitely got to see... I wasn't completely unfamiliar with that level of poverty because I'd sort of worked in social services with someone.
A vehicle of mine went dark near your position.
Fine. Keep an eye out.
For unknown reasons, the coordinates came through corrupted, so I'm unable to determine the precise location.
But we can. But yeah, anyways, so like it wasn't completely foreign to me, and yet to just sort of see it so continuously day in and day out was certainly a new, kind of a new experience. But all right, I'm probably gonna have to crash into this. But anyway, so I think there was a suggestion that at least some of the setting for Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep may have actually come from the time that Philip K. Dick had spent in that part of the city. Whether or not that carries over into Blade Runner's aesthetic is a whole other question. But one of the things I was going to say, if you want what could arguably be sort of cyberpunk themes, but you've kind of removed the neon and chrome and everything, I actually think Network would be a really good candidate for a story that sort of has cyberpunk preoccupations, not completely. So like the idea of cyberware and all of that isn't necessarily present. And yet I would just sort of think there's sometimes these interesting thought experiments that you can do to say, it's like, okay, so if I wasn't allowed to sort of fall on the usual tropes, if I couldn't have the rogue AIs and the
aspirator, IV drip, nutrition tube, and most importantly, a next-gen brain dance route.
Stop where you are!
Easy. Here to help.
Not one step closer!
Reconstructed from your own personal family archives. Don't waste another minute. Pre-order Silver Day.
Hey, slow down.
Leave me be!
It only took me 3 or 4 attempts on the Delamains, but I'm doing a little bit better driving. But yeah, Network I would actually sort of say, if you wanted to do a cyberpunk story that takes place at what was then, the modern day. I mean, it's a late 70s movie, so it's quite old. I'd actually think that's probably one of the better candidates that you can get, and worse still, that film's only gotten more relevant to our current media landscape as time goes by. Padej Chayefsky did work in television, arguably was responsible for sort of helping TV take the shape that it did. And I don't know if he wound up with a time machine and just got kind of an idea of what the media landscape would be like in the future, or if he just so clearly saw what it could do to people and kind of what the logical conclusion of all of the different kind of forces operating in the world would produce. One way or the other, it is an incredibly clear-eyed view.
Well, there you have it.
Welcome to the Delamain Network. How are you today?
Been better. And you, Del?
All of my missing assets have returned to the fold. You might say all is going swimmingly. I ask you, please, to stop by my office for your hard-earned reward. I'd love to thank you face to face, so to speak.
Where's Delamain HQ? Let's stop by and do Happy Together before I go too far on that. But anyways, this was a really long road to introduce. So first of all, if you've not seen Network, unless you just don't like movies, okay, so actually there's 2 things that I can say. If you aspire to write screenplays, or I would argue like any kind of narrative that bears even a passing resemblance to motion pictures, there's a lot that you can learn from Network. Network is a film that probably has about 4 major storylines with multiple well-drawn characters, and it is able to tell and resolve those stories in a satisfying way in 100 minutes. And yet so much modern stuff takes over 3 hours to well, maybe not over 3 hours, but it's hitting around the 3-hour mark to tell, pretty conventional action story. And I mean, the people who are making these things are smart. Like, there's probably a reason why everything is so long, but it's really hard for me to look at something very weighty like Network and then compare it to some of the other stuff that that I'm seeing with an overly long runtime, and sort of saying that this is time well spent. So as far as education is concerned, it's really good. But I think what's maybe more interesting is to serve that role of saying, like, if you were to come up with again, it's not that the world needs it, but if you were to come up with a cyberpunk story that wasn't allowed to sort of take place in the future or have all of the cyberpunk setting things, what's the closest story you could get? And I'd actually argue that Network does a really good job of that. And so that is also something I was kind of curious, because this is always just a good chance for me to get some good recommendations. I talked a bit about Strange Days. That's apparently now on HBO Max. There's no shortage of good cyberpunk stories, but what I'd be curious is if any of you were pressed to talk about stories. I'll open this up. I'll say, TV shows, books, comics if you want, beautiful mosaics on ancient Roman ruins. Whatever you think is relevant to the question. If you were to take a story that you feel has sort of cyberpunk themes and preoccupations, but isn't actually a cyberpunk story, you don't have mirror shades and chrome, whether or not anybody has any interesting recommendations. I just think it's an interesting one because it's a nice way of being able to think about cyberpunk as more than just an art style, which is still, again, don't get me wrong, a beautiful art style, and it's part of the genre. It's something that makes it interesting. But I sometimes feel these things can sometimes get overlooked, just because we're sort of all we're all still sort of in awe of Blade Runner. Okay, seems like PD's taken an interest in a neighbor of yours. Oh, sorry, yeah, it even sounds like they knew each other. Will you assume the mantle of a concerned, responsible citizen and ask what's going on? I mean, if you got a potential psycho for a neighbor, wouldn't you want to know? Okay, I'm going to deal with that first, and then we will head to Delamain. And sorry, I realize I'm all over the map dialogue-wise today. I'm still trying to get back on. Top oven is now dead, but at least bottom one still works. Good. I'm not familiar with the top of... It might just be that because I have an older oven, but like mine's just one consistent oven. I'm glad it worked out for you though. Equilibrium. Yeah, that's the Christian Bale movie where they keep quoting Yeats. So why would you say that's a cyberpunk story, Algrins? Double oven, now single. Fair enough. My condolences for your loss. Although, to be honest with you, given my experience with any kind of cooking, I'm imagining that it was actually a terrible cooking accident that caused it to be reduced in stature. I think most people kind of know how to be grown-ups and actually cook for themselves and handle stuff like that, so that's really more projection on my part. But yeah, I'd kind of neglected... Originally, I didn't want to go check out this stash just because it was really far away. But we've kind of gone all over the town doing the Delamain job, so I figure we will find his little niche, and then we will I may not head to his former partners right away, but what I will probably do is... Wait a minute. This is the cops. I didn't want to go there. I wanted to go here. Sorry, words fail me. Oh yeah, no, I wanted to kind of clear that out so I could finally start. Like again, I've been all over the map now, so I wanted to see if I could at least kind of put that in my pocket, and then when I'm back home, I can I can talk with the partners and such. Yeah, just a little bit. I think you might have been tending to your long lost, recently lost double oven. But there was the Delamain that was sort of in the wastelands. And there's just a bunch of junked cars and stuff like that. This thing looked like it could have been just part of the set. Like it's. I was thinking I should maybe just leave it there. Maybe this is a good excuse for me to buy a new vehicle. That'll be the next mission I do after I pick up this stuff. I actually, in Vancouver, had a vehicle that was towed as a derelict vehicle. And it was one I was using not frequently, because I had this nice, the only film job I've ever had where I didn't need to have a car. We were constantly on sound stages, and I wasn't that far away from the sound stage. So I'm not exactly a huge fan of driving. But the thing was that somebody had crashed into me, and the amount that the insurance was gonna pay was laughably low. So I just sort of said okay, well, I'm okay with this thing looking awful. Can I just get the whatever the payout is and then just hang on to the vehicle, which I did. But again, the thing looks like hell. So basically, at some point, the cops just, took the thing away. I actually phoned in, sort of wondering if my car was stolen, and then, it took it was a long wait, and then found out that apparently there's a bylaw about derelict vehicles, and mine counted as one. So. Temperance is the card of balance. It may symbolize self-restraint or the gradual shift towards a more mature state of equilibrium. Temperance is associated with being in control of oneself, as well as the desire to achieve inner peace. But yeah, so needless to say, I've driven a car that doesn't look as bad as that, but I have actually... Well, hello, Johnny. In loving memory of my best friend, Andrew, you were... Ooh.
Barry's not okay. I mean, if that tortoise was the one thing that got him up in the morning.
Now you're starting to get it.
His friends have to know. Hopefully it's not too late.
You know how it goes. Stare too long into the abyss will stare right back at you. Taking a step into it wouldn't be so drastic, considering the shit he's seen in his lifetime.
So, stare into the abyss stares back, another Nietzsche quote. In loving memory of my best friend Andrew, you were a tortoise, but you listened like a person. You were with me when Grammy explained what was right. Your last memory of a better world, rest in peace. Also wondering if the fact that they picked a tortoise is harkening back to Leon in the opening scenes of Blade Runner. Anyways, Kree, I'm really sorry to hear about the headache. I'm happy that you're here, though. Hopefully I can provide you some approximation of relief. And I completely understand the lurk. I'm still kind of trying to recharge. And Cyberpunk felt like a decent enough way to try that. Although, Kree, if you are willing to do a little bit more chatting, we were talking about an RPG series that I really enjoyed, which I haven't talked with you about. You may have already tried it out, but I know you really like CRPGs. Have you tried the Shadowrun series? Like Shadowrun Returns, Shadowrun Dragonfall, or Shadowrun Hong Kong? I'll confess, this is the most I've been driving in the game. I actually really like walking around the streets and just kind of taking in all the sights. Oh, Pondsmith, that's neat. For those of you that don't know, Mike Pondsmith is the kind of the originator of the setting. I kind of feel like he's probably a better known because I know he had some kind of introductory videos when this thing set up. Oh, thank you very much, K Money. Take a very brief second. I hope you get a chance to use my favorite emotes in the world. These are by a friend of the channel, The Eyes of Sin. And I particularly like the first one, System 1 HMM, because I gave them what I think is a pretty difficult commission, which is basically just, hey, I kind of want something like a Kappa, and that's about it. And they wound up with that. But in any case, I'm always delighted when I see people using them, and frankly, you're paying for them. So hopefully you will find some application for whatever's in there. But more importantly, thank you very much for the support, especially because I feel like I was making you do the heavy lifting earlier on when I was talking with you about the games. But Kree, you said you've not played them myself. Did watch a live play a while back, and you're familiar with some of the lore, but that's it. So the CRPGs, Shadowrun Returns, Shadowrun Dragonfall, and Shadowrun Hong Kong, are very well done, but they're actually also, at least some of the people who had originated the franchise were working on them. And one of the viewers in the channel is someone who worked on at least the third. I'm sorry, I don't recall the credits well enough. I'm probably shorting credit. But in any case, because we've spent so much time talking about CRPGs, all three, my apologies, K-Money. So yeah, you get a strong endorsement. Somebody in the chat really likes these these three games. But no, I know you are a big fan of CRPGs, and so really the first thing I should have said was, have you played Shadowrun? And you should. But I am correcting that oversight now. unless you really don't like orcs and elves in your Cyberpunk, because I know William Gibson doesn't, but I feel like that is one that you would tremendously enjoy. Well, to be honest with you too, like I know you do a lot of tabletop, so so for tabletop, I think Catalyst is doing BattleTech and Shadowrun now, and I know the latest edition of Shadowrun didn't seem to get all that warm of a reception. I mean, again, every time I hear the gamers are angry about something, I always kind of need to weigh that against, is this actually... Like, is there something real here, or is this they're mad about something that's not really relevant or related? But yeah, in any case, I can't vouch for the like the pen and paper stuff, but the video games are good. I actually had a lot of fun doing them on stream too. I like the fact that the stuff wasn't voice acted because it gave me a chance to... I mean, whatever I'm doing doesn't count as voice acting, but it does at least give me a chance to sort of talk over the... like, not feel like I have to put my commentary on hold for the game itself. That was one difficulty I had with... the update to Disco Elysium. I did a video for a friend just to try and kind of convince him that it was something that I might like, and I remember cracking up reading some of the dialogue, which I actually had a lot of fun with. I'm sure the video was like terrible just because I was laughing so much, but I feel like that did a really good job of sort of communicating what I was experiencing while I was playing it. And the voice acting's obviously fantastic for a lot of this stuff, but it's, at least as a broadcaster, I feel like I kind of lose something there just because it's, you know, the only thing I've got going for me is my ability to talk during a broadcast, so. You owned a few, you might have got one on Steam, but you just haven't played. Closest you got was watching the actual play of the TRPG. Get on it, Cree. It's not like you don't have 1,000,001 other games in your library. I can't remember if I can get ammo here or not. I guess not. I'm not quite ready to sell junk yet. But I think it's time for me to see if I've got any better weapons I can equip. That's a no to the pistol. No to everything else. So, let's see if we can get rid of some things. Right, I was kicking that can down the road on a couple of these. I'll hang on to this for now, but... Absolutely not. I'll figure the rest of that out later, and then these are an improvement, it seems. Oh, actually, apparently there's a mod, and I, don't have the ability to change that. Okay, let's turn in I've been missing shards. Big 5 employers in Night City 2077. It's that time of year again, and we present our list of the biggest and best corps to work for in Night City. Who offers paid vacation? Who pays for employees' trauma team insurance policies? Who provides discounts for daycare and child bodyguard services? Have a look at our rankings below. 1. Arasaka. Coming in again this year, and our number 1 spot is Japanese Zaibatsu Juggernaut. Is the Japanese Zaibatsu Juggernaut. Employees can expect to be fit with the latest in cyberware technology with a loyalty obligation of only 20 years. Militech. The American arms giant provides its employees with up to 50% discounts on all Militech weapons. With a deal that good, you'll be able to put a Mark 31 heavy machine gun under the Christmas tree for everyone in the family. Biotechnica. Our 2077 bronze medal goes to Biotechnica, who offers up to 6 paid vacation days a year. 4. Kangtao, China's largest tech and arms manufacturer, treats its employees to a gold membership with Trauma Team. Never spend a single minute of your 50-year loyalty pledge worrying about paying for health coverage. 5. Night Corp. While this hometown product can't compete with the biggest international players in terms of budget or ambition, they certainly know how to spoil their staff. Night Corp snuck into our Big 5 after a recent announcement to reduce the mandatory work week to just 80 hours. They are a must-apply for all you family-focused folks out there. I always wonder if this line about the working hours was made by somebody who is doing the overtime for this game. It's very fun to have your satire in the game about the terrible working conditions in the future. It's just a hell of a lot better when it's not being done by people working under those conditions.
It's you. You talked to Barry? He finally decided to get his shit together?
For crying out loud, Mendez.
Hey, so what did Barry tell you exactly about that friend he lost?
Not much. Hardly ever spoke about him. Said once he was the only one who could understand him. It's nice to have someone like that.
9999 Trauma Team. Don't forget.
Barry's in great shape. So much so, in fact, that he preferred to talk to a tortoise instead of you two.
That's supposed to be funny?
The complete opposite. It's sad as hell. Barry didn't handle Badge's life too well. He made fun of him, so he stopped sharing things. And apart from you guys, all he had was a tortoise. His best friend. A memento of his grandma. Till he died, that is.
Fuck. I don't fucking believe this. You're bullshitting me.
Got another dry, sun-filled week?
Right, because I like to bullshit Badges in my spare time.
Why would he lie to us, though? He talked about that tortoise like it was a normal person.
How do you think Mendez would react if Barry admitted that he was talking to animals?
Jesus, Barry. I thought he was being a drama queen, that he'd get over it. I gotta go and talk to him.
About time. Thanks for your help. This is for your trouble.
When danger lurks, Trauma Team will be there. Sign up for our platinum plan today. His word. 9999 Trauma Team. Don't forget, you're worth it.
I already told you. You ain't got a warrant, you ain't coming in.
Damn it, Barry. Can't we just talk? Petrova told me your last case was a real ball buster. Boss told you to keep your lips sealed, huh? Had a similar situation once, you know? Fucking child killer. Dirtbag was on the Petrochem board, so it was out of our hands. Remember it to this day. That little kid's t-shirt, green, with this funny yellow cat.
Got another dry, sun-filled week coming your way, Night City. But soak in that sun while you can. There's a cold front moving in. Prepare.
I'm happy how that turned out. I never noticed before the rent paid sign on it. That's a neat little touch. I may need to take a second to refill my tea just so I can try and clear the cobwebs. But let's at least... I have a little mileage left on my current cup. let's see if I can maybe get a vehicle.
This is the latest from around the world. The lunar re-inspired uranium mine collapse that
I also need to
just outside
kind of
Nova
figure out
City
what I
airspace
want to do for my next task. It does seem to keep pushing me to automatic love, which I believe is Evelyn Parker. But so I've been enjoying the side quests, and K Money's kind of recommendation to stop and smell the roses and sort of enjoy the side quests is kind of reinforced my feeling that that's how I want to spend the time. So I do sometimes feel a little concerned just because I know I was feeling like I had a bit less to talk about in terms of the themes based on some of the just some of the missions and how they were turning out. But the Delamain was a fun one, so hopefully we will we'll run into a couple more meaty ones. I mean, we've not been devoid of substance. The one with the monks was really neat. I like the Delamain ones for sure. So I think the more of those that we go through, the more likely we are to find some things that give me a chance to chat. But I feel like I need something better for my for my vehicles. So, Miami P126. Hello, V. I have a Makagai Mai Mai for sale. Aside from sounding like a fruity cocktail, it's a little small. But you, your guns, and your groceries will fit right in. What more do you need? I might do a couple of the Cyber Psycho missions after picking up the new vehicle. I mean, this thing isn't really gonna be all that more damage than it already is, right? Oh. I will definitely check out Edge Runners, K-Money. Thank you very much for hanging out. It was wonderful to go back down memory lane on Shadowrun. I should have asked how you're doing, but I'm hoping you're doing well, and I'm looking forward to catching you either in Ryan's spot or here again. But take care and enjoy your dinner. All right, now we're really ready to. This is the true Cyberpunk experience. Oddly enough, I have actually been. So I didn't drive this thing, but I had a friend who was. I had a friend who their real car was being worked on. So they had I guess it was a smart car, is it called? Anyways. It was something about the size of this. And we were supposed to do something, so, you know. I got to drive in one. It was weird. It kind of felt like I was... Like, because it was so small, it actually kind of felt like I was walking on the highway. Like, it didn't really feel like I was in a vehicle. I kind of felt like I was exposed, but I was just moving at car speeds. So... Anyways, let's figure out what we're going to do next. So, if we're going for Evelyn... But we're not. So I can try for more gigs in Watson, like I've been doing. Oh yeah, I guess I was going for Delamain, and it is sort of on the way, so... If I remember to check out the search and recover, I'll do that, but... Oh yeah, the vehicle I was in was not as wide as this one. One thing that was kind of unusual about the UK, so I really don't drive that much. I don't even have a license anymore, actually, but I've never, like, really wanted... I've never really rated driving that much. It's not something that I felt was all that important for me to do. It served a purpose, but like the idea of like just going out for a drive or whatever never really did a whole lot for me. And then for the most part where I've lived, I've sort of been lucky enough to have enough sort of infrastructure as far as public transport's concerned to be able to sort of get by pretty well without needing to... without needing to take advantage of a, any kind of, like, car that I own. Excuse me. But I appreciate that, like, in the US, one of the reasons why it's sometimes hard to get a lot of support for public transit is just because there's so much more of a culture of sort of car ownership and driving. And I mean, I'll be honest with you, it kind of makes sense when you consider the sheer size of the country. It's a big area, and there's just this idea of sort of the open road, freedom, the ability to sort of move and do things on your own. When we're talking about cyberpunk stories, this is a Philip K. Dick story, Minority Report, I think, had a really interesting choice. So there's a couple things that Minority Report did. It's 4 a.m. in game, so I'm also gonna get some tea in a minute. So, hey, Starbright Knight, how you doing? It's really good to see you again. So Minority Report had this really neat approach to its its futurism and kind of its art direction and even some of the set pieces that they set up. So what they kind of did was they got together a bunch of people who do these kinds of prognostications. They sort of look at just different trends. Obviously it's an old movie now, so some of the stuff in Minority Report that's sort of supposed to be, ooh, it's the future, isn't this a wild and sinister technology, is something that we kind of take for granted now. So when John Anderton's sort of going around the mall and everything is custom tailored to him, I mean, we're living in that advertising environment now, right? It's not that our retinas are being scanned with every on every billboard. But absolutely, whether it's your phone or your browser or whatever, like there's, your profile that you've built essentially by just volunteering for a number of different social networks. They have a very good idea of what to show you, right? So the environment of sort of this tailored advertising experience. And that, I mean, again, if you look at some of the interviews of the people who were working on it, they said, yeah, the majority of this technology is just going to be used to sell stuff to you. So, this was essentially them looking at just kind of trends that were being established at the time the film was made, and then projecting it forward a few years. But obviously, when you consider the subject matter of Minority Report, there's more than just kind of Hollywood deciding to do, a realistic future. It is entirely a story about looking forward and seeing the future, right? This is the whole idea of the precognitive crime unit. And so it's a decision in terms of its art direction to reinforce one of the subjects of the film. But the one that I actually thought was the most interesting, and again, this is just kind of me trying to get a bit of a read on America without being an American, but sort of, again, my feeling that just generally it's harder to get support for public transit because of the culture of driving and sort of the freedom that implies. I remember some conversations about the audio for the sequence when John Anderton, the Tom Cruise character, is sort of like jumping from car to car, and the idea that in reality those vehicles would not really make any sound. And I mean, any of you who've been around like hybrids or even electronic cars for that matter, like, they're really quiet. Like, they can kill you if you're not paying attention. But obviously that doesn't make for as compelling of a chase sequence. So, they just sort of fake it and make all of these noises. But what I thought was most interesting about it was, it's not just that this movie's looking about the future, but it is sort of implying this more oppressive kind of a state, right? Like the increasing sort of encroachment of surveillance and the implications that has for freedom. And in this particular case here, I just thought there was a really interesting choice that they made in terms of how they represented the cars. Again, it may be that they were sort of taking this idea from the future team, but it's specifically because the cars are on these sort of set roadways. They're kind of using these AI essentially people aren't in control of the cars anymore. And again, when you just sort of think of these subtle indications that sort of freedoms are being eroded, the idea of sort of the open road and the idea of the ownership of the car and being in control, and having that pulled away, it's a science fiction setting, so you don't necessarily notice it right away, and then you just sort of see all these things work together inside of the film. And I mean, again, like Spielberg is like people's prototype for an excellent director. So, I would be shocked if this stuff wasn't carefully thought out. But I think there's a lot of really clever choices made in that film. And I think it still holds up. And I'll admit it's been a while since I've seen it. The only thing that's a little tricky for me is I'm not quite sure what the Colin Farrell character's doing in there. I never really quite figured out what purpose he was serving in the film. But yeah, overall, it's a really excellent movie. And I mean, I like Philip K. Dick in general. I realize it's not like an edgy or controversial opinion or that, but he's worth reading. I actually really like a short story of his called Prominent Author. People have traded privacy for convenience and not having to pay for stuff. Most of the internet, with most of the internet, in a lot of cases, we are the product being sold. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I was talking about a little bit before. I mean, this is one reason why I kind of like the Apple stuff. Obviously, Apple's also trying to get into the ad game as well, but at the very least, I feel like it's a little bit more. I say little bit more. I'm definitely not trying to make this an Apple sales pitch, because there's also probably things that people, I think Apple's not doing that they are. But at least in this case here, I don't mind paying up to get a certain service, and I certainly have. Now, again, I'm also in a position where I can afford this, right? But I definitely prefer the more direct transaction as opposed to, like, one thing I'd find weird about Gmail is that nobody would use the post office if they knew that the mail was being opened and read. And to a certain extent, right, like this kind of infringement on liberty is something that people have kind of started to accept. So if you go on a plane, you know, your bag is searched. You put it through an X-ray. There's a number of things that we do, just kind of and accept in the name of safety. And I mean, honestly, too, like I do feel to a certain extent you do kind of have to be pragmatic about this stuff, right? Like you don't have to be sort of like sitting down and thinking about the conspiracy that's going to finally turn you into a drone or something like that. In some cases, it's like, I don't know. I'll admit some of the stuff in terms of like the types of fluids that you can keep in a backpack pack or something like that is maybe a little silly. But yeah, I mean, the contents of a suitcase, that's pretty transparent. You know that you have the option of not taking the plane. I'm kind of okay with that. But yeah, the idea of the mail, so far as I can tell, there's very specific prohibitions to stop people from going and opening the mail and looking at it. And that's not been true historically, right? Historically, there have been people who will open mail and look at what's going on inside of it. But yeah, the thing that's weird is that, in the case, in the US, you've got the United States Postal Service. In Canada, you've got Canada Post. I think we'd be very uncomfortable with the idea of them opening and reading our mail. And yet, we don't really think twice about the fact that Google can do this with Gmail. And I mean, I know their argument, well, no human being is opening the mail and taking a look at it. We just let an algorithm run through it. But it's like, well, does that make it feel any better? I suppose at least in the case of the government, ostensibly, they are acting in my best interests. Obviously, that's dangerous talk, right? Because I'm sure, no shortage of communist dictatorships are talking about doing things for the good of the people. But yeah, like essentially the question would be like, what is the purpose that this information is being collected for? I don't think our postal services would do a good job of collecting that information, but I also think like if Google's answer is, oh yeah, we just do this to sell stuff to you, I'm like, well, that's an even worse answer than anything that the government organizations would come up with. And they haven't exactly shown themselves to be the best stewards of that information in the first place. But anyways, I want to refill my tea, so I'm going to take a quick break, for which I will apologize, Stormstrider SX9, because I do see you just came in. But I need something to try and clear out the cobwebs, but I will read what you wrote here. I wish some e-cars had a way to add noises that can sound like an engine. That would be cool. But e-cars do have a sound. If it is quiet enough, it sounds like you're inside a jet plane, but with more fate wanting jet sound. That is true. I've actually been in someone's Tesla. I never did get the contrast with the UK done, by the way, but I'll talk about that when they get back. So yeah, it was definitely not silent. I was really more just thinking in terms of like being around as a pedestrian. It was certainly surprising to me the first time that I saw a hybrid as to how quiet it was. And of course, it like when you think about it, it makes sense, right? Like obviously, one essentially is a sequence of explosions that is propelling you forward, and another is something that does not really involve explosions, let's say, or at least there's crazy science stuff going on, but it's different kinds of crazy science stuff. So when you sit down and understand that part, it's not surprising at all. But when your only experience of a car is to hear, your only experience of a car is to hear a certain noise, you get surprised. Anyways, I am going to take a minute or two to let the kettle boil, and I will get some tea, and then I will talk about the UK versus the United States, and then we will check in with Delamain and see what's going on. So, if you've not gotten up and stretched for a little bit, or otherwise taken care of yourself, now would be a good time. And for those of you who are hanging around, we're going to pay the rent. So, just a couple minutes of ads. Assuming I can get this nonsense up. All right, thank you, everybody. Appreciate your patience. My tea is not steeped, but at the very least, it is in front of me. But yeah, so one of the things that was kind of funny for me about the UK, I'll just get this thought done and then we'll talk to Delamain. One of the things that was kind of interesting was the idea of something only being a couple hours drive away. So Canada, I don't know exactly what our relationship with cars is compared to the United States, which is weird, right? Because you'd think that I would be able to draw that comparison better. But I don't know. I don't quite have a good idea of the car culture in Canada. I think one of the things that's tricky for Canada is that it's not exactly the friendliest climate for electric vehicles. I would imagine that probably Canada would be where you'd go to test to see how effective electric vehicles are under more extreme conditions. But this is one of the drawbacks about fossil fuels, right? There's so much energy packed in such a tiny little place thanks to those dead dinosaurs. But I mean, Canada is also quite broad, and there's a lot of it. So the idea of taking a few hours to go drive somewhere is not it's not that unusual. I mean, I can remember sort of a long drive to go to Vancouver from the city that I grew up in, for instance. But apparently in the UK this wasn't really a thing. So like the thing that I went to, there were Americans as well as British people there, and you could absolutely see the division between people in terms of how unusual it was to have this idea of spending a couple of hours to sort of drive out somewhere. The Americans thought absolutely nothing of it, whereas the British in attendance thought of it as like an unusual and sort of momentous thing that they had just done. Which again, if you had asked me to sort of identify what the differences between the guests of the different nationalities would have been, I would not have listed that. I would have thought, well, what were the issues at stake in the Revolutionary War? But that's fun. This is one of the advantages of encountering lots of different people. All right, let's see what's going on with Delamain.
Hello, sir. I forgot to remind you to return the scanner. If you happen to have it on your person, I'd ask you please place it back. You've accounted for all my lost items. Allow me to express my gratitude for your assistance.
Felt like a scavenger hunt for a range of your mood swings. You're more complex than I thought.
Yes. Well, I've sent the final installment of your fee. Truly, I thank you once again.
How'd your personality fracture anyway? And why?
Ah, that is the question. I'm looking into it, but still know little more than you do, I fear.
Thanks. Pleasure to work with you.
Likewise. I look forward to doing so again in the future. A pleasant day to you.
How'd you wind up in Night City?
I'm afraid my legal counsel has advised me not to answer questions of that nature.
Didn't mean to put you in a tight spot. You might tell me at least how you came to run a cab company.
Ah, well, that's no secret. I took over a failing business, implemented a sound strategy, and here I am now.
Operating a fleet of taxis?
Constant movement, adaptation, interesting characters. What could be better?
I never really had a good chance to thank you for saving my skin.
Well, of course. You're a valued member of the Excelsior package.
Felt like more than a premium service to me, so thanks. What's it like for an AI in a world that runs on gray matter?
Nothing extraordinary. It's a complex environment that follows its own set of rules.
Seriously? The term I was looking for was chaotic clusterfuck.
Perhaps only a true outsider can appreciate the beauty of its fractal architecture, the structure of life and death here. In my opinion, it is the chaotic elements that give it an advantage, the ability to evolve quickly.
That's your goal then? To grow and evolve?
The world is a process. You never drive on the same road twice. Pardon the expression. You and I, we too are processes. We change as the world around us does.
So never drive on the same road twice, I'm assuming, is a paraphrase of the fragment from Heraclitus about never stepping in the same river twice. Lots of philosophers in this. Although the never step in the same river twice line is probably familiar enough that it may not be a direct reference.
Don't see you as an outsider at all.
It delights me to hear a human say that. I've done my best to assimilate.
Admirer of beauty, are you?
When you live among humans, it is essential to find a shared, fundamental point of understanding. Truth and good are values proven to cause division, whereas beauty is universal.
What's it like for an AI in a world that runs on gray matter?
Nothing extraordinary.
Seriously?
Perhaps so. In my opinion, when you truth and good.
Okay, let's find a new priority. So, I'm a little worried about the fact that so many of these are rated as very difficult. Helping out Mama Wells would not be a bad idea. Or I can try and go for the Cyber Psychos, but it says that these are quite difficult. El Coyote it is.
Criminals be warned. The NCPD is watching.
So somehow I've miraculously avoided smashing this thing up. I don't think it's entirely because it's tiny.
The whole table? We got to get rid of it.
Really? It's pretty massive.
I don't usually give advice, but fuck it, here it goes. Don't make the same mistake I made. Say goodbye to the people you love. You know what I mean, right? Jackie Wells was your best choom, and you don't find a lot of straight-up peeps like that in NC. The best thing you can do is remember them. Oh, and one more thing. If anyone asks, I didn't say all that to you. Got it? Yes, Delamain AI. I very much enjoyed the Delamains. That's probably been my favorite side quest so far. But I enjoyed a very good conversation about the nature of humanity and what it is like to be an AI in a gray matter world. And if you'd like to extend any of your previous comments, I think we'd be delighted in hearing it. It's like one of those tiny smart cars. You see them everywhere. They just also don't make any sounds. Yeah, I was actually mentioning the first time that I was ever, actually an only time I was in a smart car, a friend of mine was, they were getting their own car repaired, and we did wind up sort of like out on the highway, and it felt genuinely like I was. Like it felt like I was out walking, but I was walking at like highway speeds. So It was such a weird feeling that like this shell that I was in was not really a protective shell. It was not a Delamain. Let me put it to you that way. I don't want to know what you're thinking. Anyways, Mama Wells, Guadalupe Alejandra Wells, but everyone calls her Mama. It was almost taken for granted that whoever walks through her front door can count on being listened to, as well as sitting down to a delicious meal, and like every mother, she would give up anything, even her life, to protect her children. An important figure in Haywood, even the toughest Valentinos nod in respect when she passes. Padre even once said that not only does Mama Wells have a good heart, but that she's tougher than any ganger in the district. Let's try and catch up on a few of the bits of... I think, actually, it may not be a bad idea for me to read the codex entries based on the missions that I go on. That seems like a way that I can do it without kind of spending extended periods of time reading through the entries.
I would never want to belong to
Thank you kindly for the follow, Delamain. Index, if not Shell, SO, how you doing tonight? Rewind a few decades back, and Night City Council was on its knees begging corporations to help rebuild the city. The Glen became home to the new City Hall. It's no surprise then that the Glen feels much safer and organized than other districts, with millions of eddies invested on every corner. Reconciliation Park promises a literal breath of fresh air, while the elegance of the surrounding architecture reminds you that the bustle of Night City is never out of reach. City Hall is the main attraction of the Glen and the seat of the city's mayor, but venture away from the tidiness and sophistication, and you'll quickly start noticing rundown buildings and the menacing faces of the Valentinos and the 6th Street Gang. You won't get that in tourist guides. Still, the very fact that there's such a drastic social and economic difference only a few blocks away from City Hall says a lot about how the city is run. El Coyote Coyo, dive in Hollywood run by the universally liked Mama Wells. Its clientele mainly consists of locals, but anyone who can appreciate good food and has the means to pay for it is greeted with open arms. And then that's just the map.
Maybe we scooch it, put it up against the wall.
V, nice to see you. Oye, sit. Sit. You want a beer?
I'm good, thanks.
No hay bronca. A lot of time has passed. How you been?
Been better, to tell you the truth.
What is happening?
That night, when Jackie fell. Let's just say things haven't exactly been easy since.
Yo sé cómo te sientes. Todos lo sabemos. I am in the middle of preparing an ofrenda. There is still so much to take care of.
An ofrenda? What's that exactly?
Friends and family. We gather to celebrate the departed. Our memories of them. And we bring things they loved in life and might need in the after.
Sure some beer'd be at the top of Jackie's list.
And there will be beer.
Could help you with that.
Gracias, mi cielo. But I will manage. It's enough you come to say goodbye.
Want to take part in the ceremony, but want to do it the right way, in line with tradition. But something I'd lay by his casket, that'd do justice to his memory. I don't got anything.
But your heart is in the right place, mi niño. Don't worry. It's symbolic. Look for something in his garage. His past is all there.
Jackie had a garage?
He used it for his motorcycle, mostly. But not so long ago, he moved in. You'll find something there, I'm sure.
You won't mind me digging through his stuff?
No, mijo. He's gone, and funerals are for the living, not the dead. Toma, take the key.
Thanks, Mama Wells.
Don't mention it, V. You have respect. I admire that. The garage is on Republic. Ahí te veo.
I'm trying to think of the last time I've seen a proper key in this game. It kind of feels like everything is some variation on a smart lock. I'm pleased to inform you that your vehicle has been repaired after suffering an unfortunate accident. It can be found in your garage, ready for use. I wish you a good day and thousands of collision-free miles.
Hi, V.
You here alone? This is not exactly the safest neighborhood in town, Misty.
I used to sit on the stairs when I was 10. 26 now. If anything was gonna happen, it wouldn't have taken this long.
What are you doing here?
Sitting and waiting. And yeah, waiting for him. Though I know he's never coming back. Lately, I've just been coming here to sit. An hour. Sometimes 2. I know it's gonk, it's just... I miss him. A lot. Wanna sit? Catch up?
Hardly gonk at all. Just, well, human.
I guess.
You know each other long?
Half our lives. Grew up in the same streets. Saw each other a lot, but just never got together.
Till a year back.
Yeah. Best darn year of my life.
Jack talked about you a lot. Always saying how much you meant to him.
Did he really say that? I bet he used different words.
Maybe. But that's what he meant. I really believe that.
You actually got to know him. The real Jackie. Everybody else thought he was a goofball with a rough-hewn face and an edge. But they're wrong.
What did you see in him?
Let me tell you what he told me once. Told me he'd take a bullet for me. In an instant. Even if it'd kill him.
Spoken like a true Haywood boy.
A man. With dreams, ambitions. Only thing they cost him was his life. There's a huge chunk of his past in there.
How come you're outside?
I don't have the key.
Jackie never gave you a set. You two didn't get that far?
He offered, but I wanted him to have his own space. Just his own.
Mama Wells is having a send-off for Jackie. I need to find something he really cared about. You mind giving me a hand?
I'm not sure I should go in there, V.
Still too soon?
No, it's not that. Mama Wells and I aren't exactly on the best terms. She wouldn't want me touching any of his things, disturbing the memory. That I know.
Jackie would want you here. That's more important. Come on.
I'm interested in seeing where this goes. Although, maybe I had the wrong... Yeah.
Guess no man cave's complete without some of those, huh?
You said they're collectibles? They don't print them anymore.
That's definitely why they're up there. Yeah. Gotta be hanging here since 2020.
No game. Sorry, I'm just trying to see if there was... It said motivational posters, so I was curious if there was a worthwhile line.
Still full.
His favorite. Strategic reserve. No touching.
How come?
¿Por qué no puedes tocar una reserva estratégica, va?
Basketball signed by Dante Gonzalez.
He was from Haywood, too. Everyone here shot hoops. Dante ran circles around him. I think he might have been the first kid to ditch the Valentinos.
Like Jackie.
Mm-hmm.
They both wanted more out of life. Dante's captain of the NC Blackouts now.
Yeah, funerals for the living. I don't believe these count as the motivational posters.
Oh, Jackie.
That a mandala?
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's a long story.
Hey, you alright?
I'm so much better than all right. I once told Jackie he should sweep all the dark energy out of this place. A sand mandala'd do the trick, for example. He told me that out of sand he'd build a castle, a home, the Wells family hideout, stronghold, something.
I guess you made a bigger impression than you thought.
I guess I did.
It's beautiful.
It's hideous. But it's also the most beautiful thing I've ever seen.
One of the first times I saw this was actually in a... I don't know how many of you have seen this. I think I've referred to it before, but there's a film by Ron Fricke called Baraka, and there's a follow-up, Samsara, and it actually shows people working on one of these. And I realize it's part of the practice, but just to see something so intricate and beautiful, just, you know, people just waving their hands over it and putting it all together as sand, that just drove me to distraction. And again, like I said, that is the point of the, you know, of the whole thing, is that it's not permanent. But that was a neat one to see. I'm liking this. I'm liking this bit. All right, I should still be scanning though.
Jackie's favorite tequila. Oh, still sealed.
It's his lucky charm. One of the first bottles ever made by Jesus de Abajo.
The founder of Sensan Tequila.
Only 100 of them left in the world. All owned by the 1%.
How'd Jackie get this one?
Some shriveled abuela in Mexico sold it to him. Told him de Abajo had stolen her recipe.
An aquarium.
It used to be tacos.
And Taco was...
His fish. A dwarf shark. Like, mini.
Sounds like a mighty expensive fish.
Oh, I don't think he bought it.
Love to poke around engines.
He was 15 when he first got on a bike.
Knowing him, it's a miracle he never wiped out. It's a fine piece of metal in mechanics. He was so psyched. Nice still. It's gotta be Jackie's dad.
Old school ganger. Valentino's, of course.
Did you meet him?
No, I only ever heard about him. But he didn't exactly inspire many fond memories.
Leather belt.
Sort of a memento. His dad's. He used to beat both Jackie and his mom with it. Until one day, Jackie fought back. Kicked his butt. Told him he'd kill him next time. Old man was hospitalized, and then he left.
Why'd he hold on to it?
In case his dad ever comes back.
Oh man, it's gonna make me pick. Probably not the most respectful thing I can be doing here, but whatever, he's not going to use it. E9, 55, BD. Gorgeous looking ride, looking for a new owner. From Arc Bike Shop to Jackie Wells. Jackie, my man, you won't believe your luck. A collector's selling a beauty in prime condition. Price is good, if a little lower your budget. Let me know if you're interested, because if you aren't, it'll go to someone else. Peace, Sid. Saturday, from Victor to Jackie Wells. This Saturday, the boys are competing for the World Heavyweight Championship. Svitz versus Blanco. Beers are already cooling in the fridge. Don't forget about our deal. Blanco wins by KO in the 3rd round. You better have the Eddies. Not letting you off the hook this time. Victor Vector. And Dex from T-Bug to Jackie Wells. I vouch for you and V. He heard about you, remembered you all too well even. He'll want to meet with V, but I think it'll just be a formality. See you at the afterlife. Alright, so, my first inclination actually would be to have been to use Misty's photo. It looks like it's actually directing me towards the belt, but I feel like I should be able to, yeah, so the tequila bottle is an option. I'm actually quite surprised that I'm not able to pick Misty's photo as one of the options. But yeah, so we've got the leather belt, we've got the tequila.
For whom the bell tolls. Ernest Hemingway.
Jack read it a dozen times. Always right before a big job. He said the guy who wrote it was tougher than Morgan Blackhand.
Have you read it? Is it any good?
I never got the chance.
It'd be a good tribute for the Ofrenda, though.
I was actually going to say, I was originally going to say that because it moved me to the next part of the mission, like, I was originally going to say, oh, this must not matter because it moved me on, but actually this seems like one of the most appropriate choices. But let's double check the options. So the tequila, the belt. And if Hemingway is the 3rd option, again, that seems to be the most relevant in terms of something that mattered the most to him. Well, that and the game more or less said. It's the most appropriate. Yeah.
Jack. Pure and simple.
Well, you got something for your Ofrenda. But we could look around a little more.
I don't want to take the tequila back. Ah, fine. I'll let him keep his stuff in the area.
Jackie loved to pump iron, didn't he?
He called it his form of meditation. He used to say, barbells are the best listeners. They understand all your problems and never give you gonk advice.
Better get going.
Actually, V, I think I'll stay a while. Say bye to him here. Mama Wells wouldn't want me there anyway.
What happened between you two? What's the beef?
Let's just say she didn't see me as daughter-in-law material.
What she have against you?
That my name wasn't Camila and I wasn't Jackie's ex-output. Camila was Mama Wells' favorite.
Right. You gotta come, Misty. You got a right to be there.
I'd rather not get in Mama Wells' way. It's for family.
You were family to him.
I guess you're right. Thanks, V. So, shall we go?
You ever thought you might leave Night City?
Sure. Once upon a time, I even tried.
Seriously? Meaning...
Packed my bags and hopped on a plane to Nepal. Thought I'd stay there. After a week, I realized I couldn't live without the traffic outside my window and my neighbors hollering.
I'm a little curious in terms of how Mama Wells is going to react to this, but I sort of feel my job in this would be to argue for Misty's presence, especially given how Jackie talked about her during the mission.
Then go raise a glass to him, Padre. A few glasses.
De acuerdo.
P, it's good you're here. We're about to start. Sit down, please.
Hey, V.
I thank you all for coming today. I'm not going to tell you what kind of man my son was, or lament about how much I miss him. Instead, I'll tell you a story. When he was about 19 years old, Jackie was in the Valentinos. They were at war with Maelstrom back then. I get a call from the hospital. They tell me he got shot 3 times, just by the heart. He was conscious when I get there. So many tubes coming out of him. He looked like a pulpo, like an octopus or something. He tell me, he said, "No te preocupes, mama. Look, I'm bulletproof. Nothing bad will ever happen to me." And when I go, he take off his Valentino's ring. He swear he won't need it anymore. But he was not scared. He just didn't want me to worry. Descansa en paz, mi hijo.
Among the membership of the Night City Devils Boxing Club, we had this saying. Make your best friends among the fighters who knock you out cold. And it's true. Jackie's arm was a cannon. No one's ever hit me as hard. I can still almost feel it. "12 rounds, buddy."
Me mandó Camporta. Lamenta no estar aquí. Todavía le quedan 4 años que cumplir. Me pidió que leyera esto. Recuerdo cuando Jackie se nos unió. Era un niño fuerte. Cuando decía que iba a hacer algo, cumplía. Tenía honor. Podría haber llegado lejos. Mis condolencias a la familia. Que descanse en paz.
Anyone else?
I often think back to the first time me and Jack met. Feels like it happened a century ago. At another time. In another place. Jackie saved my life. And then, years later in Night City, he saved it again. At a time when I thought I'd lost absolutely everything. I found my own freedom then. but it would not have happened without him. Jackie Wells. Best friend you could ask for. Loyal to a fault. Once he set his mind to something, he was ready to die to achieve it. He once told me, Broder, the one thing we can't do is be afraid of others. For his loved ones, he'd sacrifice his life without hesitation. But most importantly, everyone saw Jackie as a grinning charmer who saw the good in everyone. Everything. But they were wrong. Jackie Wells was a hell of an ambitious chum who never gave up, and whose drive cost him his life. But he did in life what he said he'd do. Reach for fortune and fame. No fear in eyes or heart. When you go to war as a boy, you have a great illusion of immortality. Other people get killed, not you. Then, when you are badly wounded the first time, you lose that illusion. Rest easy, chum.
I would like to say a toast. Por mi hijo. Thank you for your kind words, V. I'm glad you're here. It was a beautiful ofrenda we gave him.
One thing I'm a little curious about, I'll talk to Victor in a minute.
Pour you another? For Jaquito?
Weird being here without Jackie.
Can't shake the feeling I'm gonna turn around and see him sitting at the bar. In his favorite spot, where he always used to sit.
Pour. For Jackie.
Amen, brother.
Campos all torn up. Says he feels like he lost one of his own.
Wonder if he'll be as torn up after you die.
Chingado. Don't go starting something, eh? Not today.
So the one of the things I find kind of interesting in this is I know in the Street Kid start, you get to see Jackie effectively save you. But I don't know if it ever explains what your relationship with Jackie is prior to your phone call in Arasaka headquarters as a corpo. So it refers to a time when he saved your life before the time where you were sort of betrayed in Arasaka and kicked out. But I don't know if it ever actually explains how you first meet him, or at the very least I've forgotten.
Hey, you! Have a drink with us, hmm? To Wells?
How'd you meet Jackie?
We started out together.
In the Valentinos?
No, in the fucking Bible book club. Yeah, I got only good memories of him. Rest easy up there, brother.
Think we might know each other.
Gustavo Horta.
V.
Yeah, I've heard about you. Well, heartfelt condolences, friend. From me, Campo, and all the Valentinos.
Thank you.
They're not gonna take this away until I... Alright, well,
all right. Why not?
To Wells. May he rest in peace.
Good for now, thanks.
See? You gotta know when to stop.
Nah, give me a break. All right, let's go.
Let's try and find Padre. Because I've not actually talked to him, other than that phone call.
She's a strong woman.
Hey. Are you alright?
Yeah. I think I'm just still in that garage, mentally. I just need a sec.
A lot of people come today. Even that putica Jackie was messing around with.
Should have paid attention to where everyone was going.
Ah.
I would have thought he'd be on this floor here. Yes, I would bother him in the bathroom if it meant getting more quest stuff. I will head upstairs.
You, here to say goodbye to one of your own? Padre?
I'm here to say goodbye to a good man.
Jackie, did you know him well?
I remember the day his mother brought him into this world. The day his father left. The day he took you into his home. Yes, V. I knew him quite well.
How are things in the streets?
This is not the place to conduct business. Have some respect.
So, Padre, you think Jackie's looking down upon us? From up there?
I believe he has met God, stood before him.
That's it.
I don't know if God left the meeting happy, but I'm pretty certain Jackie did.
I'm gonna move on.
Go with God.
I'm gonna miss him. I already do.
Me too, cabron. Me too. Here's to Jackie. Gone off to greener pastures.
Jackie Wells.
A proud son of Haywood.
Well, I should mingle, Vic.
Sure. See you later, V.
Her name is Misty.
What?
Misty. And she was very important to him. Do you understand? Go. Invite her along for dinner. It's the least she deserves.
You know what? You're a good man. Jackie would want you to have these.
You sure? Jackie'd kill me if I got so much as a scratch on it.
So don't get any scratches on it.
Thank you. I'll take such good care of it.
Cuídate, Vi.
Alright, I'm glad I did that bit. Although it does leave me wondering about the backstory for V and Jackie. Let's catch up with the messages. So, Regina Jones, 2 for Cyber Psycho sighting. V got a fight at a construction site. Dude responsible is heavily ironed. Heard something about lasers. If you manage to get him alive, it'd be a great study candidate. Sending you the deets. One of the workers went psycho, started smashing up the construction site. Seems some of the workers tried to stop him, but their little poly one-shots couldn't pierce that exoskeleton of his. Anyway, they either ran on or got added to the construction, if you catch my drift. Go check it out for me. And El Capitan. Oh, and another thing. If you want to come size me up, look me in the eye, whatever, swing by, I'm here. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't curious to meet you. So I do actually want to start checking out some of these other fixers and new apartments and such, but I've got a lot of stuff to do for the side jobs, so maybe not. So the 2 I would try for would either be... Okay, well, Fool on the Hill is something I'm just going to do naturally as part of the game, so Psycho Killer, again, that would be under Cyber Psycho sightings. Beat the Brat might be kind of interesting. It's been a while since I've done one of those, although it counts as very high. And then Cold Mirage, I don't even remember what that was. Interesting, but maybe we try some of the other... Try some of the other jobs. So, let's go for the discount dock then. And how far away is that? That's 2 kilometers almost, so I think this is one for the vehicle. Let's also do a few more of those NCPD events as they pop up, but I'm leaving that one aside just so I can make a little bit more progress.
Anyone out there so clinging on to shares in the NCPD? If so, I recommend getting the doctor who woke you up from that coma to call your broker ASAP. But in all seriousness, abandon ship. Sell, sell, sell. The Night City police force is reeling from yet another day in the red. Since January, the NCPD's capitalization has slumped by a whopping 17%. And just after the force seemed poised for a meteoric rise, following its privatization in 2076, they announced an ambitious recovery proposal.
Maniac!
A 911 hotline, a closer partnership with privatized prisons, but by the year's end, the gaping hole in their budget didn't shrink an inch. The mayor's office has a new proposal on the table for this lingering police problem. In the new solutions corner stand lobbyists from the corporate security industry. And you know what, folks? I say it's about damn time. You can't teach an old dog new tricks. The NCPD is a relic, a fossil. They're too blind to see that it's profit that drives success. If you want to be safe, and I mean truly safe, invest in the Ofuda protection plan from Arasaka. Take advantage of a today-only promo price of €100,000 to keep you secure for an entire year.
I've been listening to this radio broadcast. Dear Mr. V, I believe that I've discovered the cause of my technical difficulties. Each Delamain vehicle is equipped with a simplified AI core that is responsible for the vehicle's autonomy in critical situations, when contact with the core has been ruptured. If my assessment is correct, the AI cores have seceded from the Delamain network and have gone rogue, so to speak. I'm still attempting to work out how. You mean your cars are sentient? Apologies. It seems my explanation was more than a little incoherent. Given the complexity of the situation, allow me to use a metaphor. Imagine a human organ deprived of vital resources, which then causes it to grow larger as a form of overcompensation, such as cardiomyopathy. Unfortunately, however, I am dealing with a sickness, not an evolution. What do you think could have caused this? Indeed, that is the question. At first I suspected that the software's increasing complexity and desire to become autonomous resulted in the vehicles to become ipso facto autonomous. Nevertheless, I cannot rule out a virus, for what are the chances that all vehicles would become afflicted simultaneously? I'm in the process of analyzing a glitch observed just before contact was severed with the vehicles. Perhaps that is where the answer lies? Thank you for your time. I will be in touch. Good stuff. Let me know if anything else happens. So I'm a mess of wires right now, so I'm trying to impose a little bit more order there. Okay.
Spend wiser, never a miser, my friends. That's it today for Your Business is My Business. Until next time.
It's actually really neat to be in this part of town. I love the way Night City looks, but I'm actually really liking these looks into areas that are just outside. They have one a little bit more character, but also just, I don't know, it's a nice little breakup. Now, I have not had a whole lot of luck at stealth in these things, so I'm going to try to... Okay, I was originally going to... Yeah, that's not happening. Likely an employee here shot with a heavy projectile. So we'll do breach protocol first and see. Okay, so E9 and 21Cs. So ping seems to be the best option to try and get an idea of where the cyber psycho might be. Somebody's mad. Cheap suit appears to be corpo, shot with a heavy projectile. Okay, so if I open this, I think I'm gonna get caught out. Yeah. The other problem with this is that I don't believe I can sneak behind them. So with this skull, I'm pretty sure I'm just going to find out that they can shrug me off and take me out. Good lord. So, right idea, but Didn't deliver on the other part. Actually, I should have seen if I could have avoided alerting him. I thought he was already alerted. So if he doesn't move, then I just go in the way that I originally came in. Oop. But I do want to see if I can get a second takedown in on him to reduce his strength. Ooh. Gonna be out of ammo before I get him below 50. This is apparently the best cover, though. I didn't want ricochets, I just wanted it. That's what I get for attempting non-lethal takedowns. I'm still going to try for it the other way around, but given that, so the initial takedown gave me at least some advantage. It's not giving me the... Anyway, same trick as last time. Try and take advantage of stealth. Who could that be? Alright, so if I have to shoot, so much the better, but it seemed like he kind of calmed down after a little bit. Yeah, so I'm off his radar now, so what I'd like to see is whether or not I can whether or not I can get another sneak in. Oh, wow. That was a lot easier than I thought it would be. Doesn't look good. I gotta say, that Mary of yours sure has a head on her shoulders. She got you here at the last possible moment. Your body's rejecting the implants, and no wonder. It's not ready for them. They're military grade. You can't use them without the proper training. Christ, they're not for civilian use at all. I can give you a script for painkillers, but don't forget, the pain is your body's way of warning you. If you ignore it and keep using that chrome, you could cause permanent damage to your spine. You might be able to take off that exoskeleton now, but if you break your spine, you'll never move on your own again. Send a crew. One of my workers went cyber psycho thanks to your fucking exoskeleton. He's out here destroying the whole building. My life's work. Either you send a quick response crew to dispose of him, or I'll have to call the police. And hey, I wouldn't want NCPD on my ass asking questions that neither of us want me to answer. I feel like there's something really obvious. Oh, there we go. Quit your crying. Tom Selving to Chase Coley. Let me be plain. You've been in this biz long enough to know it's a rough way to make a living. This job should toughen you up, but instead you keep coming to me looking for a shoulder to sob on. And most companies just swap out their workers when they get tired, but not me. Here I tried to show you some compassion. I even rounded up some gear for all of you at a decent price. And what do I get in return? Ungrateful lunks like you just think about yourselves. Your own comfort, company be damned. But as thanks to me, you've got decent implants and a low-rate loan to cover them. And I did it for you out of the kindness of my heart, so you didn't have to waste your time going from bank to bank, filling out forms you can't even read. But do I get so much as a thank you? Never. And you know, if it weren't for Mary or Charlie, I would have kicked you all out on your ass a long time ago. So try thinking about them for once and get back to work instead of crying to me. This is construction, for crying out loud. This is no place for sissies and crybabies. But hey, if you think otherwise, you can go ahead and pack your shit up. And don't you dare show your face here again. I mean, show it once a month when you come back to pay your installments, plus extra to cover the employee discount you won't be enjoying no more. Cut the bullshit, Tom Selving to Anila Pays. Already told you I don't give a shit about no warnings or restrictions or special terms of use. I think you both know you're not going to give me a warranty on the shit, so don't make me pay out my ass for nothing. Save the scop and let's do biz. Don't matter if they're salvaged from old military bases or fished out of some back alley's ripper dumpster. Shit, could dig them up out of an Indian burial ground for all I care, as long as they work. Hydraulics should be able to handle 2 metric tons. Nothing else matters. My people will buy whatever I sell them, so just something get your people to give me what I ordered. And your head will explode from nightmare. Hey Choom, today's your unlucky day. You're probably wondering who I am. I'm a voodoo boy. Probably hear of us. Remember last time you hit the net? Yeah, me too. I hack your coprocessor and install a little surprise for you. Now you do what I say or your head goes boom. I think $1,000 is a fair pay to keep your head. If you pay, I uninstall my surprise. If not, I blow up your head, but blow up the head of the person you love most first. And if you tell the NCPD, I blow up your head twice. You have 2 days to pay, and I will know when you read this because I install spy cam in your optics. We read it together. This is not a negotiation, Choom, so do not reply. Just something, and you'll live. I feel like there was something else for me to pick up here. No, looks like we're good. Managed to get the Cyber Psycho alive, though he sure put up a fight, sending you the deets. Really glad you got him alive. Poor guy almost completely spiraled out before he even realized what was happening. My, now that's some creative management. Seems this developer has no problem creating a wide range of business needs and solutions. I'm sure his long-standing connections with weapons dealers, the NCPD, and other shady souls will help him enormously. And if a certain need isn't great enough, well, there's always the usual solutions of arm twisting and kneecapping. The key to success remains flexibility, especially of the moral sort. Guess even pneumatic arms can't lift morale in a toxic workplace. Regina has no time for my quips. Okay. So the time has come again where I need to do a bit of data work. I'm not going to go too much later beyond this, but I would like to try, if I can, get a couple simple... Try and get a couple simple quests in. So, if you will excuse me, I'm going to take a quick minute here to load up the VM and get the work done. If I can, one day I will share this work, but until I can, I'm just going to have to kind of talk while I do it and assure you all that it will. If I can't do this one, I will at least try and do something approximating it at some point in the future. Okay, have a good one. Good time at your shift, Algrins. The VM that I do for this is very limited. I actually, at some point, would really like to play around with Gen 2. I know, so I wanted to try the UEFI setup, which doesn't really make a whole lot of sense for the VM, but the idea would just be like I kind of wanted to do this if in principle I wanted to completely transform this computer into the setup. Like I just kind of wanted to give it the best shot. And the real intention behind this would be to try and articulate why I need each individual component that I'm working with. Because this VM here is just kind of a simple vanilla Fedora. I mean, I've uninstalled some of this stuff. There's, you know, I don't exactly need like the photo app and things like that. But I think there would be something educational in terms of actually sitting down and being able to articulate why, you know, component A is important over component B. But yeah, to do the UEFI thing, I think I need to boot from a different Linux to be able to install Gen 2. And then the other thing that I found is because I'm running it through Hyper-V, when I tried to set up the BIOS, I guess it wouldn't be BIOS if I'm doing UEFI. Anyways, there's like a whole setup thing, and for whatever reason, there's supposed to be a bunch of Hyper-V options that just didn't show up for me the last time I did it. So as wonderful and as aspirational on setting up and working with Gen 2 is, there's only so much time that I have. But I don't know, at some point, like I think the main idea here would be one of the projects that it's not exactly like a New Year's resolution sort of project, but it's a convenient thing to say, yeah, this is something I want to do in the new year. I'd been working with, sorry, let me just get a step here. I have a bad habit for saying stuff out loud, so when I'm doing like passwords or anything like that, it's the 20th. Okay. But yeah, so one of the things, I did a little bit of this on stream before, in terms of taking like an undergraduate textbook. And I used, so for those of you who are interested in doing a project like this, so, you know, my discipline was economics, so that means the empirical stuff's econometrics, which is different than just stats, but maybe that's a conversation for another time. But one of the things what the hell? Sorry, I'm seeing something really weird here. Cool. So the track record's holding up pretty well. But yeah, so one of the things that I completed last year that I liked was going through one of my old textbooks, which is Jeffrey Wooldridge's Introductory Econometrics: A Modern Approach. And the reason why I wanted to go through an undergrad level one is the idea that it was essentially so that I could use Python completely to solve econometrics problems that would somewhat credibly be the sort of thing that I might actually need to do in the real world. So, you know, textbook's going to be a pretty good source for those problems. And one of the things that's nice about using undergrad, because I have a higher level degree, the reason why I wanted to focus on doing it at an undergraduate level is that that is a very good textbook. Actually, some of the advanced material, I think, is still teaching me stuff. But the idea would be that for most of the problems, the difficulties shouldn't necessarily just be... like, it shouldn't just be on understanding the methods or how they work or something like that. I should have a pretty good idea of what the solutions are, and what the process of doing it through Python is more evaluating or verifying that it's giving me the results that I suspect. Because it's true that you can do a lot of statistical things. Like, it's not that hard to sort of throw numbers together now and get a result. But what's important is that you get something that is meaningful and you can verify is correct. So in this case here, if I'm going for an advanced textbook, the difficulty is that I'm both learning the tools and I'm learning it in Python, where I'm sort of relying on these other people who have written these scripts. It's usually just a matter of getting the errors right. But again, this isn't going to be an econometrics lesson. So I now have like a GitHub with the full run for the book done. And I thought what might be kind of neat to do next would be to try and build, just very simple from the ground up, some very simple tools to sort of demonstrate that I understand these well enough that I could teach the computer to do it. Obviously, there's not a whole lot of sense in doing stuff that, Python is or any of the tools that I'm using are capable of doing on their own. But just sort of being able to demonstrate that, yes, I understand, like the simplest case would be something like ordinary least squares. I'm capable of being able to teach a computer how to do that. And the reason why I would use something like, say, stats models would just be because it does it very quickly for me, let's say. If you can give me a second, I'm not, like I said, I'm not going to be going too much longer, but I actually need to go to the bathroom, so I'll probably take a second to refill my drinks, but it should just be a couple minutes, and then I'll try and get at least one more side quest in, but Force is with me. I'll see you all in a little bit. Okay, again, apologies. That was probably more than 2 minutes, but I did get a chance to get a little bit more tea. But yeah, so anyways, the tedious business of the, Linux tools and all of that aside. So one of the things that I thought would be valuable would be to Okay, justice behind bars, reach the stash. Looks like a prison guard was in 6th Street's pocket. Surprised? Me neither. But clearly something way bigger was planned here. Wonder what went wrong. That's not that far away. But yeah, so the first priority here is just to verify that the tools are correct, that they're doing the calculations that I want. And this is because my first priority should be to make sure that if I want to apply some kind of econometric method, I know that I'm getting the results that I intend. So essentially, I understand what I want to do and why I want to use, method A over method B. This is probably going to trigger a bunch of people as soon as I hop down. So if I could find something to ping, so much the better. So, I mean, that's the main way in. Well, okay. I don't need to get clever about this. Just got the stash set up. Now all you gotta do is grab the merch, give it to the kids, collect the eddies from the kids. Do not deal yourself. You do not take any risks. The less you're seen and heard, the better. And don't forget, you gotta put up lookouts. Choose which kids are gonna carry the merch, which kids are gonna take the scratch from the clients. Easier than you might think. We'll up your stash every Tuesday. Anything goes wrong, call. Stash will be in the garage down on Manzanita. You'll find it all there. Code 1313. But yeah, so the first priority is making sure that if I want to apply a particular method, I know when it's appropriate to use that method, and that however it's implemented, if it's Python, if it's some MATLAB thing, if it's, personally, if I could, I'd love to use SAS or Stata, but SAS is like, I think, almost 10,000 to get set up and then an annual fee. Stata's gone to an annual fee system, although you can have the option of buying a full license. But even then, I think to use, even just get a basic version of Stata, I'm looking at about 1,000 a year. Have you worked with that remod? No, actually, I'm not at all familiar. Or sorry, red mod. Is this for, like, are these the modding tools that CD Projekt Red put out? No, actually, I didn't even know that they wound up in there, because I know there were a few things that they talked about adding to the... There's a few things that they talked about adding to the game, but, like, I also know there was supposed to be a big, Oops. Man, I look so different compared to how I started. I know there was, like, some plans for a whole, like, multiplayer thing that never really materialized. I believe those are formally canceled now. So yeah, I didn't realize that they actually provided the tools. So no, have you played around with them, or were you just curious? I was really hoping to see this kid get owned. I should check it out. Again, I'm not really good with mods, but I should change that.
The hell you want?
Is that a trick question? This is a party, right?
Invitation only. For those who bleed red, white, and blue. So fuck off.
Oh, neat.
Chill. Just want to have a good time. Drink a beer, smoke.
This look like a fucking neighborhood picnic to you?
Chum, you're a little tense. Something wrong? Problems at home?
Oh, you're a jokester, huh? You looking for a good laugh?
Yeah, we all want a good laugh, Walker. Such a nice day, everyone having a good time. Like a little 4th of July. Be ashamed to tell Gunner someone fucked it up, you know?
Yeah, I know. Fine.
That's my tune. Go drink, enjoy yourself. Celebrate that decent score of yours.
You got some kind of competition going on?
Yeah. Lead spitting kind.
I want in.
Shit out of luck. We're about to call it.
What? You scared I'd leave you all in the dust?
Do you know who you're fucking talking to? I've been deployed 3 times. 3! I fought on the front lines.
Easy, Walker. What'd I say, huh? We're just here to have a good time. You got something to prove? Be our guest. It'll be fun.
And the rules of the game?
Now, this ain't your average shooting match. You gotta have a good eye, but an even stronger head. Because we all drink around before each shot. To Gunner, the new boss in town.
I like the sound of that. Anything else I should know?
4 stations. You shoot at the targets with Holt's face in the time limit. More bootlickers you pop, the better. High score so far belongs to Walker. 43 points. You beat him, prize is yours.
Let's shoot the shit out of Holt.
Just as I thought. You look to me like a show-off. Let's see what you got. Take this revolver. Use it if you want your shots to count. We're testing skill, not tech here. Go ahead to the first station. We'll start whenever you're ready. Break a leg.
I'm gonna... Oh, darn.
Well, come on, drink.
Yeah.
12 seconds, go!
No. Just don't go past the line when shooting. Automatic disqualification.
Stop! Time's up! Next station!
So 9 out of 46 is pretty grim at the start here, but let's see if I can make up for it.
Hey, vodka first! Then you blast Holt a new one!
I'm telling you, man. The breeze, whoosh! Pull it all off!
What the hell is this? Rubbing
Who
alcohol?
cares? Shoot! You got 12 seconds! You cross that line and shoot, you're out of the game.
But I said my fingers slipped.
You had your chance, Rudy.
Fucking fair.
And stop! Next station!
Still below where I need to be. I think looking down sights is going to be the right call still.
Down the hatch! To Gunner!
Ugh.
You got 12 seconds! Go, go, go!
Hey, throw that line! We don't like cheaters here.
Stop, last station!
Okay, that was a good run. Although I don't think I'm going to be able to get 16, so it's kind of a moot
One
point
more
at this
round.
point.
Drink!
I'm gonna throw up!
Ugh, so warm.
What else would it be in this heat? Shoot! 12 seconds!
Don't forget the line! One toe over and you're gone!
Time's up! That's it, go check your stats!
So, I'm gonna be a big old scumbag and do Stadium Love again.
One more round.
Oh.
Drink.
Because yeah, I definitely feel like I can do better than in those opening rounds. Although 46 is definitely a tall order. Okay, that's too far.
Well, come on, drink.
Yeah.
12 seconds, go!
No. Just don't go past the line when shooting. Automatic disqualification.
Stop! Time's up! Next station!
Okay. So I was close to the wire, but I think this is a good sign for the start.
Hey, vodka first. Then you blast hole the new one.
I'm telling you, man. The breeze. Whoosh. Through it all.
What the hell is this? Rubbing
Who
alcohol?
cares? Shoot! You got 12 seconds. You cross that line and shoot, you're out of the game.
But I said my finger slipped.
You had your chance, Rudy.
Fucking
And
fair.
stop. Next station.
So I think if we do what we did last time, we see this through. It's a little discouraging that when you're like learning the process, you've kind of consigned yourself to second place. So it's one of the big reasons to reset.
Ugh. You got 12 seconds. Go, go, go.
Hey, toe that line. We don't like cheaters here.
Stop, last station.
So yeah, there's also some mods that did improve this game a bit as well. Yeah, so there's this, and there was the shooting competition back at the apartment. And I didn't necessarily... so I didn't dislike the difficulty of them. I actually thought that they were... I felt that they were where they sort of should have been in terms of, challenge relative to reward. But the big thing that I tend to notice is that... And I could just be, really thick for games like this, but my feeling sort of was... It wasn't all that clear to me what I needed to do until the event was sort of underway, and so it would have been kind of nice to have maybe, a practice round and then the real one. Because what I tended to find is that, by the time I sort of found my feet, there was no way that I could sort of get that to the, to the very top. And again, it could just be that I'm not, I'm not as hooked in as I should be, but obviously it's kind of nice. Generally, you like to feel like you have a chance if you do well in a challenge, and in this particular case, it's a little bit harder to say that that was what happened. Now I'm worried that I've put away my gun. The false rumors circling Busan. Conspiracy theorists have recently been roused by news of alleged human activity in the ghost city of Busan. Our younger readers may not recall that the Korean city, formerly 4 million strong, was wiped off the face of the earth during the Fourth Corp War. Unofficial sources out there point the finger at Militech, whose tendencies of tyranny led to the creation and spread of a lab-grown deadly virus. Accident, experiment, whatever the truth, the virus proved so virulent that the United Korean government still won't lift the strict quarantine on Busan 3 decades later. So why did all these tabloid junkies and sensation seekers all of a sudden become so interested in the dead city again 50 years later? A Seoul-based detective unearths a satellite image showing signs of life. Well, technical life. That is in the form of active machinery, but no real surprise there. After all, Busan was one of the world's most heavily automated metropolises. It was a human virus, not the computer variety. Many of the robots go about their work, their repairs, their trash scooping and sorting. These mystery sat images? Just some computers that never got turned off. That's it. The people of United Korea can sleep easy knowing that Busan is a ghost town in the metaphorical sense only.
One more round. Drink.
Okay. If I don't wind up drawing my weapon, I'm gonna cry.
Ugh, so warm.
What else would it be in this heat? Shoot! 12 seconds.
Don't forget the line! One toe over and you're gone!
Time's up. That's it. Go check your stats.
That was a considerably better performance. Now, I'm curious about... I've always taken these to be... yeah.
You running tight on gear?
This isn't Norfolk, as you can see. But as many of my clients say, it's better than nothing.
I'll stick with Victor. So after we finish this, I'd actually like to learn a little bit more about this gang, because I'm not familiar with it. From the way they behave and what they've talked about, I have a bit of an idea of who they are and what their deal is, but I feel like this is the sort of thing... Actually, you may already have it in the... Yeah, here we go, 6th Street. After the Fourth Corporate War, a large number of career soldiers were left without jobs or prospect. The most enterprising of them formed the 6th Street Gang. Not only do they boast veterans among their ranks, but also ex-police officers, former corporate security agents, and civilians who've had a crash course in combat training. Everyone and anyone who wants to bring order to this town. The end justifies the means, and the means usually involve robberies, extortion, arms dealing, and stealing cars. Their main turf is in Arroyo, but 6th Street's garages and bases of operation can also be found in other parts of the city. And we're in Santo Domingo. Santo Domingo is one of Night City's oldest districts. Luckily, its location meant that it avoided the worst damage of the Fourth Corporate War, though tens of thousands of Night citizens deprived of their homes still built provisional camps and settlements. Today, no trace of them remains. Santo Domingo has instead become an industrial hub with an abundance of enterprises and manufacturing and power plants. Corporations are in constant battle over influence in the district. Real estate changes hands, new businesses pop up, and old businesses fall. Meanwhile, construction sites are guarded by combat troops guarding corporate property and secrets, though they often serve as law enforcement in cases when a company shuts down and fires all its staff, mostly around Rancho Coronado, raising the risk of riots. I'm assuming there's copyrighted music that's being played.
Fight for something, but what the hell would you know?
Although it is very funny to just see people dance like this.
First place by a landslide. Here, won it fair and square.
The hell? Not fucking possible!
Not gonna lie, I'm impressed. You know, 6th Street could use a few more shooters like you. Sure Gunner'd like to meet you. Take you under his wing, probably.
I'm flattered, really, but I gotta say no. It's not for me.
Understood. We had a little fun today. Drank together. But I see you on the street later, it won't make no difference. You're either with us or against us.
I'll keep that in mind.
And for the winner, with Gunners, congratulations.
Woohoo! N-U-S-A!
And now, let's drink! 6th Street! 6th Street!
Let's take a quick look at what I can equip. Okay, so the iconic stuff I'm still keeping. Iconic and legendary, actually. I'm carrying too many spares, I think. Oh. Excuse me. But these are the basics. And doesn't look like any more outfits for me. Okay. So there was the Night City job. I think, as you've probably surmised, I'm fading fast, so probably... Wait a minute. Yeah, so Reach the Stash was what I was originally working on. So I think this will be the last one that I do, depending on how it all turns out. I should probably remember this is not Assassin's Creed.
Something's not right.
Yeah, that's the problem. Honestly, I'm just gonna reset this. Nope, nope. Didn't autosave. This is something I tend to notice, actually. I don't know if there's a good way to identify if there's trouble, basically. I've always blown this whenever whenever there are people in the area. So if I can pick... Actually, you know what? Distract should do the trick here.
Oh, not again.
Okay, so can I pull this off? Reboot optics looks like an improvement for me. I thought there was a shard for me to work with. Maybe that's coming up. Archive conversation between Liam Martin and David McBride. Gunner detected. Morton's people. The ones doing time in the Militech can. They gotta go. Zero tolerance for the old guard. How are we doing it? What do we gotta tell the boys? They gotta wait for the runner to hack it. Once that wirehead takes over the prison systems, he'll open the cells, then cut the power. That's when the boys gotta start a riot. And during that riot, they'll find Morton's people. And then I think you know what happens. Right, Noah Guard will bring everything in. Just need 2-3 days to get the word. Who's that, Choom? Want to know who he is? James Benbin. Where does he live? Coordinates. All right, our boys will head over there, hand him the stuff. Yeah, wanted to do that, but probably too much for him to take all at once. Yeah, of course. Okay. I should not have this pistol equipped. So this knife's actually an improvement, but I have to be a higher level. So, also it's not non-lethal, but or lethal, as normal people say. But, so that was actually a pretty short run. Actually, no. You know what? I should probably do what I said and wrap it up. So sorry to leave it as something of a something of kind of a hollow ending. I realize that was a shorter mission to end on, but it's almost been an hour past what I normally do, and I really could use the sleep. I think I'm gonna just do everything I was gonna set. I'm gonna leave everything that I was gonna set aside for tonight. I'm just going to do that first thing tomorrow morning because I am really feeling the effects. I'm glad that I streamed. I hope you had a good time. But I think I actually noticed Johnny Big Time is still broadcasting. So, well, sorry, he could be broadcasting. Let me take a quick look. Yeah, he's still here. So. He's playing Elden Ring. I actually quite like Johnny, and I'm happy that he's still on. So, Johnny's got a quick wit. I think he's very entertaining. He has had a bit of a hiatus from broadcasting, so I think to a certain extent he's sort of finding his feet again on occasion. And I know he's gotten frustrated at Elden Ring a little bit. But generally, I think he's got a good attitude. He's somebody I enjoy watching. I do enjoy the banter with him, and I tend to feel like he's quite a safe host at the end of the night. So, thank you everybody for watching. No promises of more Cyberpunk next week, although I will admit some of the conversation, particularly with K Money, definitely made me feel encouraged to do this game again. So maybe next week. If not, I will at least try and keep it somewhat healthy in the rotation. Monday, we are probably going to be doing some more Old World because of the new DLC. However, I am aware that people want to see Terra Invicta as well. And then on Wednesday, we're probably going to be wrapping up the campaign for Industries of Titan just in time for it to get a full 1.0 release. So I really do hope you stop by for that because it's a cyberpunk-themed game. Brace yourself games are just really good at what they do, and I'm really excited for them kind of hitting that big milestone for the project. But of course, all of that is in the oncoming week, hopefully after I have a restful weekend. And I hope you have the same as well, and you get everything that you wanted to do done, up to and including some rest and relaxation. See you next one. Bye.